Welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Set 1, you get 6 games. You get another Knights victory and another NIP loss. Fun one to watch. Storylines really starting to come into the fold here as we approach Hi-Res Expo. Only a couple months away. Another big storyline to watch, of course, Virtus.Pro. Their meteoric rise, and SSG. Tough start to them coming back to this split. Lots of fun to look forward to. I'm Dolson. Looking forward to bringing it to you. Gormizer joining me on the desk for set number 2.
And this is going to be, like you said, a really, really fun one. I mean, we get a rematch between these two teams when they first played a week ago. So it'll be kind of the testament to see what has, like, maybe SSG learned, and maybe more of just kind of more watching VP in their successful run. I mean, things have just been going so well for them right now. They're looking already, and I mean, 4th place now, to just keep climbing. I
mean, this is a team that the conversation has been, are they the best team in this league right now? The way they've been playing, they've at least, I mean, whether or not they are, that's a debate. But they have at least thrown themselves into that discussion. And that's a discussion split number 1 SSG had been a part of. They have a big answer back. Of course, if you look from split 1, 4-3 Virtus.Pro in week 7 of split number 1. Week 11, SSG take it 4-0. Then, as Gormizer pointed out, saw them last week, 4-0 for Virtus.Pro. And the question, in my opinion, becomes, can Virtus.Pro continue to play the way they are, and is SSG improved?
So looking at, like you said, for like the split 1 stuff plus split 2, this one naturally has to be a 4-3 for SSG, just to balance things out, right? To keep it 2-2 between these two. No, it's definitely going to be, I think, more enticing than last week. I think we're going to see maybe a little bit more out of SSG. But the problem is that you're dealing with Virtus.Pro, who, with their roster changes, like, out of everyone, they seem to have struck gold with everything they've done.
Well, they're feeling good, and for good reason. Everything seems to be working for them. We were able to sit down with a couple of them, hear their thoughts prior to this matchup. Take a look.
With the meteoric rise of Virtus.Pro unfolding before our eyes, there has never been a better time to dissect what is going so right for them. We sat down with the support veteran of the team, Vex, as well as one of the rookies, Erase, in an attempt to bottle that lightning. Our goal is simple: learn how they turned a 6th seed team into an unstoppable force that has dominated every single team in the league in the span of only a few weeks.
So going into the league, we knew that teams thought we were going to be strong, but we came out a lot stronger than we thought and other teams thought. So I think we do have a target on our back. I think we're the new team. We're the young guns on the block. You know, teams are looking to tear us down. We're rising fast to the top. They're looking to just knock that platform out from under us, and we hope to stop that. So from going from 6th seed to, I mean, now we're kind of beating everybody. It's kind of, we're even surprised by it. What really changed was, first of all, we brought Puliuli in early. He hadn't played the game for a while, so his mechanical skills weren't fully there. And we brought in Crunchy, whose mechanical skills are amazing. We also brought in Crunchy, who's been in IGL for a long time, and he's in-game leading for us. I was in-game leading for the last couple weeks of the PPL and the MSI. I have some experience IGLing, but not much. But Crunchy has IGL'd for a long time now. And he kind of brought a whole new perspective into the team, and he's been leading the team from the front lines. That's kind of like the biggest change we've had so far.
A fresh perspective leading them in game is only half the battle. Many teams have tried switching up who calls the shots, but few have found success as quickly and to the degree that Virtus.Pro have in Phase 2. What other ingredients comprise VP's recipe for success?
So whenever you make roster changes, you need to have that old guard. You need to have that 3 core members. Me and Doe have been on a team forever, and we can prove it. Usually we want to keep 3. If we need to make changes, we need to keep a core team, which keeps core values, so you don't change your whole team, your mentality. Me, Doe, and Fish all had a mentality leaving last season, like we need to focus, we need to grind, we need to stay focused on what we do, we need to have fun with it, and we brought that in with the new players. We brought them in and meshed them together with us. That's kind of the biggest part of having Old Guard and having 3 core players, is the mentality doesn't change, and you bring in the other players and have a mesh with you.
I have previously competed in other games, been multiple times to LAN events, but not as big as this one. So I did have like less nerves than another person would have, but it was still my first LAN for Paladins. So I still had a little bit of nerves, but it was way less than a regular person, I think. I don't think it feels any cleaner. It's just, I think it's a different team. Penta used to only play aggressive, and this team is kind of a hybrid. We can play very defensive, but we can also play very aggressive. So it's a little different. We used to just try and push the 4-0 wins constantly. This team is a bit different, a bit more precise, and just a bit more calculated, I guess, how we win.
Yes, I've been playing more aggressively, and it's been very fun. With the team, because they play aggressive, I've always had a more aggressive play style, but I had to tone it back before because we played very passive the last split. But this split, we are very aggressive. We try to take the fight to them. We can play passive, and we've done it very, very well. But it's me as a player, I'm opened up to make more plays. I'm opened up to get more quads and Furia. You know, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice being able to play more aggressive this season. We haven't changed much. We try to do more stuff as a team. We try to go to the movies or go out to eat, make sure we all go together. Just do different team things. If we go to the store, we get a couple people going and talking. We're just trying to, the biggest thing is becoming more of like a family instead of just a team this season.
Sometimes the hardest part is finding 5 players who can cooperate and grind towards a unified goal for hours and hours every single week. Virtus.Pro seem to have found just that, a driven, successful, yet humble and realistic group of players that care for one another as much as they do about climbing the mountain looming over Phase 2, the World Championship at Hi-Rez Expo.
No, nothing. Nothing's changed with our team. Mentalities are all good. One thing I'm trying to keep the team focused on is not focusing on beating this team or beating this team. It's we need to win every game we can to put ourselves in the best possible position for MSI or the qualifiers. 4th or 5th will be the best placing for us. That's all we're focusing on, and we're just taking it one game at a time.
Personally, I don't really think so. I don't think we have to think high of ourselves as well. Just because of a couple of wins, it can always change. And at the start of the season, like, you obviously want to win at the end of the season. That's when you want to be good, and not now. It doesn't really matter. I want to win at the World Cup and not right now. And I don't know, when I go into a game, I don't really think of the enemy team. I don't try to look at names. I just try to play against the character that's in front of me and not the player.
Our main goal is top 4, of course. But when you look at it, if SSG comes in and just sweeps, and Envy sweeps, we can't. We can't become top 4. So we're really focusing in on ourselves because we know we can go through qualifiers and go to HRX if we have to. The goal is top 4. We need to beat SSG again. We need to beat Envy. We need to beat SSG both times. And still, we're not top 4 technically. So we're relying on other teams do poorly, but we just want to win every game we can.
Well, you hear it from them, you know, that there's scenarios they're looking at here where they're hoping that they can finish in 4th. If they continue to play the way they are, I don't see how that's out of the realm of possibility. Of course, you look at SSG, who are technically right on their heels, 3 wins behind them as we stand, but they've also played 4 less games, and that's the big thing to look there, I think, where Virtus.Pro are playing well, but SSG certainly have a shot to keep themselves in that first 4 spot.
Yeah, one of the things Vex said at the end was, if SSG sweeps, that's, you know, where standings start to get very, very iffy.
Right.
But, I mean, look at last week. What was that? 3 losses that they tacked on for SSG. And I will give them credit. They are one of the most improving teams that I think we, like, just from game to game, in game, they will change strategies. They adapt so incredibly well for SSG that this week I expect it to be a lot more interesting, and specifically from Richao, who kind of had some rough matchups last week.
Yeah.
And I think this week we're going to maybe see them come in with more of a familiar understanding of the meta and exactly what the playstyle is right now.
I'm assuming they'll feel a little bit more settled in, a little more comfortable. I mean, you have 3 games, fresh off travel, fresh on moving into your new spot. I think Richao is in for a big day today. I think part of what made SSG so successful in the last split, I mean, they have very good DPS as healer. I mean, all of that is very good for SSG, but their front line, the control that Richao, that Sadak both bring, is not something every single team in this league has. So I think if they're able to get Richao, they're able to get Sadak back to kind of that controlling, semi-aggressive nature, I think that maybe SSG are able to bounce back. But tall first task here in their 2 matches this week.
And, you know, one of the biggest things last week was no Barrack. I mean, they did not pick up a lot of Barrack, whereas Richao has looked phenomenal on Barracks so often, and there's so many times where that has been essential to their team winning. Virtus.Pro are not big on Barrack. Like, I mean, they'll grab him and they'll do well with him, but Dosups tends to lean towards Inara more often than not. Both of these players love that. So when you're looking at maybe priority for the point tanks, Rachao theoretically should get his bread and butter more often than not. It just depends on how SSG want to draft it.
And you bring up Dosups. I think that's a great thing to look at set-wise. I mean, we talked about Rachao, but him versus Dosups, that matchup, I mean, these are two of, if not the best point tanks in this league, and I think that this matchup, leans this game one way or the other. You mentioned Barrack being a big thing to look at, and Nara, I think, absolutely falls into that category. Lots of fun to look at here in this set. Unfortunately, Serpent Beach and Ice Mines are not going to be maps they're able to look at on the back end of that. Frog Isle, Frozen Guard, also off the table. At least we got to cast a Frog Isle game today.
Thinking.
I'm happy about that one.
You got the one that came through. Yeah. And again, it's because of what we saw earlier, where it is so snowbally of a map, it can turn into a 4-0 almost instantly. Some teams just don't want to deal with that. They don't want to know that, well, you could just be up 1-0 on us almost instantaneously. Some teams have it a little better than others. But if you want something, I would argue very similar in play style, but, well, correction. Similar in flow of the map, but not similar in play style. Different champions are strong on Bright Marsh, but it's another map that you could very easily snowball.
Look at this. They're identifying the Inara right off the bat. SSG banning her out. Barrack rearing his head here. Of course, Khan still open from the picks and bans. The frontline matchup is something we identified, and SSG, they're trying to identify a winning solution to that with their first two picks here. Barrack and Khan both taken from them. Willow, though, so strong right now.
Yeah.
Fasheko, one of the best blasters in this league, certainly can make you think twice about letting Willow through.
And that's going to be maybe the downfall of SSG. It depends heavily on their scrims since last week. Obviously, last week was maybe their eye-opener. But last week they were having some issues dealing with the Willow. And when they picked her, it didn't look as good for them. So it almost forced them to want to ban it later on. And I think she's a worthwhile ban. I mean, if you're going to replace any of the four down there, next week Torvald becomes a very easy out for that. But Inara, you could very easily see Willow kind of take that spot and potentially just kind of disappear for the set, depending on how she does this game.
Well, with Frontlines disappearing ban-wise and pick-wise, Virtus.Pro lead into a second pick Fernando here in this case. Ash still on the board. Do you feel fine about that Fernando being taken second?
I think so, and it's less because, Fernando on the tier list is so far down.
Right.
More because he's getting Immortal already, which is kind of just going to say, do you want to go Drogos? Do you really want to try to play this game? Like, it is one of the oldest counters in the book. Like, I remember when I was learning Paladins, that was like the first thing I had drilled into me was Immortal versus Dragon Punch. Immortal's going to come up way less often, but shutting that ult down can be huge. And so it kind of feels like that flex of we're going to get somebody who's good, also with a couple of buffs arguably going into next week, right? So someone who's going to kind of come into the meta with the next update, but also someone who does kind of flex away maybe some of the blasters.
Yeah, don't get used to these picks and these bans, for too long. Imagine they'll be shifting around a little bit once the new update starts to hit the PPL games. All smiles down there in the SSG booth. I'm sure they're feeling good coming into today. I mean, that's a good SSG draft to start off for. Very strong picks for them. Barrett, Khan, Genos, Cassie. Where do you maybe go if you're Freeze God? I know that, Drogos, not super ideal into Fernando. Maybe depends on what Virtus.Pro round out their draft with. Leon's still on the board for Erase, one of his best champions. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going that direction. Is Eevee in the cards here for Freeze God?
I think so. Leon definitely makes it a little more uncomfortable for either Eevee or Drogos.
In this game, you win
but I think
or you
both
die.
can still exist.
There is no middle ground.
I love Bomb King on this map, and I will absolutely throw that out here, but I doubt he's going to get picked up. It's just not a good matchup against the Willow. Not really that good against the Nando either. Like, there's just too much maybe against him to make him show some prowess. Drogos and Eevee are your best bets. Both of them have the counter in Leon, but I think Eevee can deal with the Willow a little better.
A lot of people wanted Fasheko versus Freeze God and King of the Ring. This is as close as you're going to get to see that until we're able to make that happen here. Eevee versus Willow on the opposite side. Virtus.Pro, SSG. Who do you think sets themselves up better for a win in Game 1?
I'm still feeling a little more towards Virtus.Pro. The Fernando's definitely where I'm on the fence about it, but the other 4 picks can absolutely carry a game, and it's just enough to pick out SSG.
Well, the talking heads have done enough of that. Let's send it down to Nick Squared to take it away.
I don't know if he's commenting on the shade of my head personally or what I'm supposed to do with that information. All I know is this set is about bottling that lightning that Virtus.Pro have seemed to have found. We don't particularly think it's going to be stopped here by Spacestation Gaming, giving the showing they had last week, but we're also here to measure them. What have they been able to accomplish in a week? This is a wild time to be in the PPL. All these teams feel like they're playing different metas, different preferences, different bans, different prioritizations in the draft, and Spacestation are just trying to keep up.
This is going to be a great measure for them. With that practice they had. I know they've been scrimming. I walked into the booth with them every now and then, just take a look at what they're doing, and they were practicing a lot. They were here still waiting for some of the pieces.
God knows they have to.
Yeah, after last week for sure, but this is definitely rough for them. I mean, getting what's looking like the best team in the league 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
This is going to be the best possible way to judge their
improvement. You gonna learn
right?
today, boy. I'll tell you what.
School of Hard Knocks for SSG, and the draft is interesting.
Yeah,
the Nando's an interesting choice. It's going to be really rough into the Barracan.
Yeah, we were looking at this Nando, a little perplexed given what was open and who is on this docket of Virtus.Pro and what they've liked to play in the past. Dosubs has not gone to Fernando when he's had other options with an Aura, Band, and Barrack picked. We'll see what he can do there. Fisheko, one of the bigger names here on one of the bigger champions as of late. Willow poking away, prodding, looking for something to get it going. And despite, frankly, what we would refer to as the inferior point tank, Dosubs is commanding a nice, keeping it close against Rashao's Barrack.
Able to cycle in and out using that shield, and Rashao overstays his welcome just a little bit, so VP now have this side basically open to them. They don't have to worry about the point anymore. They could stack up, but Doe's going to keep that locked down, and now VP just want to make it hard for SSG to come back in. Since cap time was even, retakes are about equal, but it's going to be so hard to stop FRZ from constantly getting these overtimes. Wormhole is so valuable on this map to keep that objective pressure going.
Was keeping it close. Now Virtus.Pro really starting to pull ahead. Fish finds another kill. Fisheko versus Freeze God. Ladies and gentlemen, you just got a taste of it. Fish finds 2. The Inflame fueling this frag session. One more will make it 2 for him, 4 for Virtus.Pro, total 5. SSG back to base as VP will take the first point of Bright Marsh. And now, let's look at this a little bit. So, Nando, not bad. Not a bad character.
No,
just not your first pick of the litter. But Genos is not the best point frontline healer. So let me ask you this. Genos healing Barrack versus a better point frontline healer in Furia healing, a less preferential point frontliner. Does that kind of cancel out in your mind?
I think if it was any other frontliner with more cooldowns that keep them alive, yes. But because it's Nando who really only has his shield, I think Barrack just
Formidable doesn't help.
Much.
I mean, if you can play around Formidable.
Later it gets way harder with the Cauterize too.
True.
It does affect it. Makes it a lot tougher. SSG managed to retake some ground here, and I've noticed this feels like a repeat of the last set. It's we after the first round of the last set, we were even saying like, wow, SSG's putting up a fight. It's really slow, but VP win. They have an inflame as the fight goes long. It's literally almost a mirror image of the last set.
Speaking of Inflame here, oh my, look at this thing go up, man. It is crazy when Vex is healing and managing to get and stay aggressive, which has been a big theme of even what we were able to sit down and talk with him about before this matchup. Furia's Inflame can charge just so quick. He's working towards his second, where a lot of people still haven't popped their first ultimate, but SSG, there's a couple of fundamental things they know how to do right, Bobby, and that is taking ground. Furia is going to try and refuel some ground to be taken back for Virtus.Pro. No kills are coming through, but SSG are conceding a lot of Bright Marsh.
Yeah, they had to give up that ground because of the Inflame coming in, that second one from Vex this round. Mitow almost going down, tried to go for a cheeky time in space, but did make it away. And now they're just trying to keep them surrounded. They pushed. They didn't say super spread, so trying to find something, but Sadak trying to catch that flank, trying to get that surround, goes down on the side.
26 seconds left on the clock in this round so far. Virtus.Pro just haven't been able to get too much going. Fish is going to pop Fey Flight, and boy, does he have an angle to the backline. Freeze first on his list, Midtow second, Rachel third, and he's just flying around looking for more. Calm, cool, and collected here, David. My man Fishy here is swimming through Bright Marsh very effectively. 4, 3, 2, 1 goes the clock. VP are here to start overtime, but they got a long way to go.
Feels like just another day at the office for Fishiko when he's playing Willow like this. They're really struggling to get away from him. I still don't think they're too used to it. Maybe they've been banning it in scrims and took a little bit of a gamble here, but they got to figure something out, especially when Fish is behind it. Good aggressive defense is going to make it a little harder for VP to convert this, but Dome Shield used early and burnt straight through as Rashao, so both tanks going down for SSG. They need to contest the point right now where they're going to get it almost to the tree by the time they get their spawns.
Oh boy, Bobby, it's looking rough for SSG. Another almost quadra kill team fight for Fishiko's Willow, first picked, and I think you're starting to understand why. It's a long overtime push, but it is coming to the conclusion here as mere inches is all that separates Virtus.Pro's cart. And now the finish line completely crossed. Fist loses his life, but I doubt he cares.
Get only that 2% of ult charge or whatever they're going to get for that, but that 1 on the scoreboard up top is much, much more important. They're so scared of him, they both disengaged the corner just to deal with him. Dead Zone's coming, hold me, oh god,
he kind of full sended in there too. He's like, here we go boys, we're making this happen. Double kills, triple kills, nearly a quadra kill. And my goodness, what a first round for Little Fishy. 8 and 3 on the Willow, top damage by about 7K.
They're keeping up though. I think that might just be the Genos, but all the damage dealers for SSG and both tanks ahead of most of their counterparts. So if they can just find the kills instead of just the damage, this could be a lot better for them. Now that they have some cauterizes online, it'll get a little bit easier, but I mean, VP had that from the start. They have triple wrecker and caught 3.5 basically in dead zone.
Yeah.
Overpower comes in. It does connect onto Cruncy, and they do have the damage, so he's off the board. SSG could take this to the far right. Looks like they might want to, but Fishy's already there. Look how low Sidok's getting here on the side.
Nice push down there. Airrays is going to fall. Overtime and comeback mechanic. I mean, VP's still choosing to fight this, and I'll be damned if it isn't working.
Fishiko putting on so much pressure. Vex was in there really far too, got to pick up his own, trading his own life, but Fishiko's trying to find Midtow in the back. Even with that pressure from Fish though, SSG, they have to give up the point. Go still commanding this. Freeze is doing his best to contest him, but not doing enough.
Ooh, Midtow slams him from downtown. Dosips down in the dirt now. Freeze God window is open and he's gonna seize it. Cruncy plants the banister, 8 seconds of damage immunity. Will allow his team a foothold, but the line to the back line is still open. Cruncy, frankly, doing an effective job peeling for the back line while holding the point and making sure Barrack and Genos have something to chew on.
They had great focus on him, but it just wasn't enough. Barrack damage will not burn through a front line that's getting lifesteal, so VP are getting this retake easily. I mean, Array's coming here on the left side, zoning them out completely. No one in SG is going to be contesting them. They might have a chance for a retouch here if FRZ can come back. They can get it and touch the point, but he might just immediately go down with how ready VP are for everything SSG's trying to do.
Given how solid the start was for SSG, I am just very impressed, win or lose, how this has gone for Virtus.Pro. They've been able to bring this one back. Quick little spin, enlightenment right in the shield. Very effective there from Sadak. He's going to go down, but a 2-for-1 trade. I'm calling that worth it. Meanwhile, SSG has already been fragging left, right, and center. Only 2 members of Virtus.Pro remain. Overtime for both teams here. I don't know if Cruncy and Vex are going to be able to hold this one down. Fish comes roaring back in to give him a chance to do just that. And the kill feed just will not stop for Virtus.Pro. Another one from Midtow! He finds it from the left-hand side. 2 more! Both these teams tooth and nail for the objective. We're only 8 minutes in, ladies and gentlemen.
The middle might keep Doe alive here for a little bit longer, but we're in fast overtime. They do get the retouch. Overpower missed because of the shield. Cruncy's buying so much time, but the big game is going to put an end to it. There's no way they're going to get back in, and SSG in spitting in God's face to take that game. I mean, that was they really fought that one. That was in defiance there.
Round of applause. That is the second payload of Bright Marsh with 9 minutes on the game clock. SSG have come to play. Again, you have to applaud that effort. That was comeback mechanic, an early overpower kill. Virtus.Pro I didn't think had a chance in hell at that one, but they gave him a show, and SSG just punched right back. I am impressed, and I cannot wait to see the rest of this set.
That was great synergy with the ultimates there, too. That's really what turned it, that double through time and space coming in from FRZ and Mitao together. That combo used to be used a lot more in kind of the slower metagames, I think. Now that we're shifting into a little bit of a faster, damage-oriented, burst-oriented one, we're not seeing it quite as much, but hey, SSG, they hadn't practiced. They're still thinking about that, and they're still clearly setting it up, and that's never going to stop working.
That was the hypest point fight of Phase 2, man. That was, you only get a couple of those a year, and I'm happy to be here for it. 117 now on the round. Defensive point still on the board. There is still a lot of game and a lot of conversations to be had. Another overpower connects, and another dose-up dies. 1 minute now on the clock. I don't know if they're going to need all that time as the payload is touching the finish line. It simply needs to cross.
Cruncy getting forced back too, and no point tank up to contest. It's going to have to be Cruncy. His cooldowns are gone. Vex is coming down to help him as much as he can, but I don't know how it's going to do. Mitao gets picked in the back though. Healing gone. VP are going to retake this, but SSG smartly disengaging, getting ready for the potentially final fight of this push.
For sure. Still plenty of time to get their feet under them. A couple of streaks extinguished here, but that's all just frills at this point. Dome Shield is actually used. Another beam and another kill. Mitao clips Doseup, kills Vex outright. My man has been, I think, at least 2 for 2 in the past 2 that we've seen, both resulting in double kills. Big game damage, easy cleanup. And you know what I loved about that, Bobby? That was all off the back of that Dome Shield.
Oh, yeah.
Virtus.Pro just trying to, they got an inch, they're trying to take a mile, and Rashao made them pay.
He did, and that's Dome Shield is such a hard ultimate, I feel like, to find the use for, right? Like, you don't know exactly when it's going to be perfect. He sees the pressure, he goes in, he knows what else they have. You don't really think about the Dome Shield through time and space combo, but it apparently was enough. This is that first one onto Doe. Use that dash to get off the point. Don't move fast enough in the shield to get away.
And then 2 more, baby. Crushing Vex, Fasheko into Raze. Both of the back lines evaporated into cosmic dust, and Genos, the perfect character to do it. Mitao finds a double-double, and then 1, of course, single there we saw in the first replay on a dose. A total of 5 frags just off of the ultimate. Safety of the backline as well. Chilling, smiling, throwing up the hearts to the camera like he always does. Mitao certainly putting on a show. SSG and Virtus.Pro certainly putting on a show. One more will do it. Finds it from downtown. Fasheko now fluttering to the backline. One more. I think every single Fae flight has resulted in at least 2, if not more, for Fasheko. Sadak trying to stem the bleeding in the backline if he can. Cruncy up high. Not willing to go down without a fight, but he's not going to have a choice. Obliterated mid-flight trying to plant the banister. When the dust settles, and Overpower is going to try to rekindle this fight, but it is still a very large lead for Virtus.Pro.
One of the best targets he could hit with that, too. Now that Immortal's off the table, if they find pressure, they could take it. And look, they've already disengaged. They're already out. They know how important that is. And they know how good their retake potential will be. Immortal, Assert Dominance, 2 ultimates that can just buy so much time in an engagement. They can find the space for it. They're going to take it. And Immortal already used, I think, to keep them alive on the backside. Assert Dominance in the back finds another stun. But SSG find the first pick.
There it is, a 1-for-1 so far. Cruncy getting back involved, trying to see what he can make do with what he's got. 3 members on Sadak. Sadak is buying a lot of time. A lot of people are looking at him. Spacestation Gaming is capturing away the entire time. They'll get away scot-free, it seems. Nobody there to continue the pressure and to claim any lives. Everything evened back up at about 75%. Virtus.Pro now climbing north of 90 in control of the objective, as Rashao creeps up, ready to contest.
That's actually such a good feeling as an offset pulling 3 people back. Ice Storm coming in onto Doe, keeping him stuck in there. Shield burn down 2. Wreckers are online now. Inflame, it looked like, came in as well, potentially for them. Damage is just enough to find Vex, but they trade out for a Raze. That's so much damage potential off the board, but Vex is just free-firing on this Furia. They're not looking at him at all.
Harry's not willing to go down there. Free-firing as well. Now, Kresnik, the critical moment there is when Freeze, to me, blinks through that window. He sees a low health Doe and a Vex with his back to him, and he really does choose to continue to pressure Doseups. He doesn't pay any attention to Vex. Does that come back to haunt them?
it might. I feel like it's just them kind of settling on a single game plan now. I mean, look at Doe's stats.
Sure.
He's 1-11 right now. Think about the bans. They started with the Inara ban, right? I have a feeling their comms this entire time have just been destroy this point. This seems to be the whole point of their draft. And it's been working better for them than it did before, but in those situations, you have to be flexible. You have to be adaptable. Normally, that's what SSG's biggest strength is, but hard to adapt when you're getting hit with that much burst damage from Pacheco.
Well, 6 HP disengaged for the boys. Fishy gets out scot-free, will not pay for his sins, not this day. People starting to hop off of the dock side here, realizing that this zone is beginning to crumble for SSG. They need to go back, get reset, get together, and get ready to kind of dig in right at the windmill where we see a lot of people fight a raise. Another Enlightenment dumped into the ship. Works out for him, not necessarily as a result of the Enlightenment, but the teammates coming in for Peel. Bit of a quieter game and maybe just a louder game from some of these other players in the pool. 1 minute now as the payload creeps towards the windmill. Ultimate Economy looking slightly in favor of SSG.
They might want to pop something as soon as that's
Another one!
Another double!
Another one!
Doe and Vex both caught out. Their pants down, no dashes up. Great play by Midtown. They're going to clean this up right away, and I know SSG, and I know they're going to be taking this as far forward as they can. They want to just burn time.
Midtown.
It's all down to how many? 9-9.
Exclusively 9-9 from Time and Space, by the way.
That's crazy.
I mean, no, that is 7 on camera that we have seen.
So.
Exclusively with his ultimate, 2 with the star splitter. Midtown, you can't say he's not doing his part at this point. 24 left. Fishy, double kill. Have you heard this one before? Turns around for a quick triple. It would have been even faster, but he thought he got it with the second to last shot. 14 on the clock. Payload has 60% of its distance left to travel.
And with the kill on he actually got a kill on a raise kind of late there, so he's still going to be mounting back in when I think this contest might start. Tank's just respawning now for SSG, so they'll probably wait a little bit, get it some closer so they can use that natural cover on the sides to buy more time with this contest. But by the time that they start fighting, it's going to be in fast overtime. It's going to be easy. VP, though, they want to convert this right now. They don't want to take any risks. Spacestation used very early. Rochelle put very low. Dome Shield used too. And Immortal, so Ultimate's coming out all over the place, Nick.
Up to the high ground, off the high ground. This is Sadoc's land. He gets to the low ground to contest the payload and make sure this one doesn't go in. A quick overtime expiration. Crunchy and Doe die very quickly back to back. And there's no one left to contest. Overtimes that drag on longer and longer when there's no one there to contest. You can just see how quickly that overtime meter will burn away.
This is a pressured VP. I don't think normal VP would have popped all those ultimates there. They used Immortal to keep Crunchy alive while he was going to use Assert Dominance. I mean, there was some ultimate stack that didn't need to be.
Yeah, if I'm given the diagnosis there, it looks very similar to round 1, how that conversion happened. I think they expected the game to just be over at that point, but again, sometimes those plans, especially ones deep into overtime, that's why they're risky, because if anything happens, somebody gets disengaged away from the payload for just a minute, a second, half a second, that overtime meter can extinguish extremely quickly in those deep overtime pushes. And now Virtus.Pro left a little high and dry in the 3-3.
Look at this pressure, too, from them. Both people on SSG very low, but FRC cleaning up perfectly. No one's going down. That little bit of Genos healing over time is just enough. They're not getting cap time, but they're finding all the kills. Doe can't get staggered, so SSG commit in, force them back into the house, and then VP are too scared to come out. There's just too much damage. They have enough time to come back in, but Dead Zone, throw it on his own teammate. They have to find room on the side. I think they just have to pressure out this flank because they're doing so much on this apartment side. They're not going to have the ability to sustain on the point if Doe has to stand in front of a Cassie and an Eve.
Well, Enflame wings a spread. Virtus.Pro are coming in. Fishy's done it 3 times before, but he can't get it done the 4th. FRZ God will get the better of him, but still push back. Space created here. Dosep shield up front. Another one! Are you kidding me? Midtown finds Dosep for the 3rd, 4th time this game. I have lost count. Midtown refuses to lose as he racks up his 8th and 9th kill due to time and space alone. I cannot believe the accuracy today.
Bayflight's on the outside too, trying to touch, but he gets forced out by Ares. 99 HP, he goes down 2 more for Midtown with the Star Splitter. They see Doe coming in, his dash can't go through. I don't think they have a single touch on the point, and SSG take the first map.
I mean, you can't help but laugh. You can't help but smile. What a phenomenal game. Surprised that Virtus.Pro lost it because they played damn well, but 13, 10, and 40. Mitao. Crack a smile, baby. You earned it. This man was crushing idiots with these time and spaces, just dusting Virtus.Pro fight after fight. What more can you ask for from your support?
I don't think there's anything else you can ask for. He timed it perfectly, too. He always caught Doe after the dash. Am I allowed to be proud?
Sure.
Even though I'm not involved at all in their success now? I'll take it, sure.
We all have our biases. We all have who we want at the end of the day, but this is nothing but great Paladins, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'm sure I don't have to do much convincing. We got game 2 coming at you.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, if nothing else, this one's closer than it was last week. SSG striking first in a 7-point game on Brightmarsh. And if that's any indication of this set, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Gormizer, lots to break down throughout that game. The supports came to play. Everyone on SSG, I might note, and we'll see in the post-game stats, everyone double-digit kill-wise. Offensive game through and through.
I mean, they were fragging. That's the only way to really word it. I mean, 168,000,
almost everyone.
Healing there for Mitao, a little less than what Vex put up, but 6,000 more damage. Definitely more impactful on the kills, but everybody else, 3 people in triple digits. And I'm telling you, Rachao on Barrick is a solution for them.
Yep.
It looks really good when they're able to get it. I mean, 19, 18, 16 there for Fisheko. He was doing a lot of killing, but a lot of dying at the same time.
Look at Doe. I mean, at 3 and 15, look at that frontline matchup come to play in game number 1. I mean, not that 12, 11, and 22 is the greatest slash line, but 3, 15, and 16, that's tough for Dosups on the opposite side. Don't get to highlight them all that often, but we talked to Vex pregame. The supports in this game, certainly no exception to doing some damage, getting some kills. Mitao, a few game saving through times and spaces this time around, and shown that Genos, I can do the damage, I can get some kills as well.
I mean, 13 kills on Genos is kind of a lot when it comes down to it. I mean, having your support break double digits at all is usually pretty big for them, and there were so many moments where that was the play, right? Where he's just maybe being able to get a really good void grip, turns around, gets a couple of good shots. Some of these are really heavy and through space and time he gets a double kill. Some of these are really heavy just because he happened to be in the right place, right time. He was dealing damage alongside his team and having that impact. So Mitao, I don't want to say maybe the edge, right? If you turn his performance down a little bit, this is even. Virtus.Pro maybe even take the game. Mitao having the performance he did kind of escalates all of SSG just a little further ahead, and well, they win it.
Brightmarsh is map number 1. You already got 7 points on the day, and that one SSG strike first, up 1-0 here as we move into Stone Keep. Do you think if you're Virtus.Pro, does that, I mean, obviously a lot of good play on both sides. The only one who had a glaringly bad slash line throughout that game was Dosups on the Fernando. Do you think you need to just identify the front line now? Remember, SSG, back-to-back frontliners, Barrick, Khan for them. And, although it was close, they kind of ran away with it. Do you think you need to get Dosups on something a little bit more comfortable?
I think, the Inara being banned away kind of hurt them a lot more. I mean, Inara, Barrick are pretty much, I don't want to say that it's Dosups champion pool. He goes a lot deeper than that, but when you look at what they've been the most successful on, it falls onto the Inara, it falls onto the Barrack, right? And Barrack even less so than Inara. Like Virtus.Pro love Inara more than anything, and so I think maybe kind of stripping that away from him hurt them last time, and well, we'll have to see since they've gone Drogo's Ash. If not stripping it away from them this time, maybe kind of pushes Dose up into a more successful area.
Well, that's I mean, I say, do you put him on something more comfortable? In reality, the only thing more comfortable for him, just because of the frontline pool, would have been an Inara, and she was banned out. So he played essentially what he was given that time around if they didn't want to flex into something else. Of course, big storyline in our first set was NIP grabbing Torvald in 2 of their games. SSG are going to do the same here because of the way the bans went. Ash, Drogo's banned out for them. Torvald picked up another Fasheko, though, or another Willow, excuse me, for Fasheko. You best it in game 1, but it kind of feels like you're playing with fire at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be very, very careful dealing with that. And like you said, I mean, him coming through again against Torvald, it's honestly even better for Virtus.Pro. I mean, dead zone means he doesn't have to worry about cauterize, right?
Sure.
So he can absolutely just go for Wrecker. I mean, you already have 1 guaranteed Wrecker pickup. Wrecker's just as good on Cassie, if not maybe better on Cassie. Get the Inflame Furia. Vex has been loving that lately, and as he had mentioned in his interview, has been super aggressive with it. And top to bottom, everything on Virtus.Pro is comfort picks right now.
But SSG, they're taking a page kind of out of NIP's book here. They're going to grab themselves the Torvald and the Genos. They're going to get that hyper-aggression with some damage amp to back it up. I assume you just pocket the Bomb King at this point and let him swing away.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best thing. 2 forms of damage amp on him. One that is probably going to hit Bomb King more often, and that's Torvald.
Right.
The other one probably going to be able to overlap. Genos should be able to get Maeve and Bomb King.
Sure.
But expect to see both of them getting bubbled. Expect to see both of them having some big games. I will also note, I mean, you know, Ares, I've put him on blast for some of his performances. Like Leon, he's usually good with. Cassie, it's kind of on the fence.
Right.
Snipers, I don't really prefer for him. But his Maeve, his Tyra are 2 champions that are really good. Tyra may be falling out next week, but Maeve is going to be really, really good for SSG here.
Yeah, I think she certainly fits into this one. Virtus.Pro pondering that 5th and final pick here. Looking like a Ruckus hover, looking like a Ruckus lock-in. Cruncy is one of the Ruckus over recent weeks has sort of started to expand more and more. Off-tank starting to pick up the Ruckus, but Cruncy is not one that has just recently started to play Ruckus. He has always felt comfortable on that champion. Does it work here on Stonekeep?
I think it can. This is very much one of those. Cruncy's performance is going to kind of define it more than anything. He's going to be able to get away with a lot, though. There's not necessarily a direct counter for them, and it does kind of pull it away. You know, you're looking at, okay, now someone has to go Wrecker. Someone has to maybe deal with that shield, the emitter shield. Probably going to be Maeve more than anyone, but then you're kind of focusing on multiple targets, and it's the way to do triple DPS without having to lock in triple DPS.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Something we weren't able to say last week. SSG up 1-0 over Virtus.Pro. Game 2, let's go.
Thank you so much. It's time for game 2. And it's just not the way we expected to shake out, man. We look at these matchups earlier in the week. We start to formulate our thoughts, our opinions. What do we think has changed from, in this case, it's kind of an anomaly because it happened last week, and now we're watching the same matchup again. But how much progress could Space Station realistically make in a week? So far, so good, though. And they have a different, albeit equally as strong composition, I feel.
I think so. I think it's going to make it very hard for VP to play inside the keep on that high ground if they want to. Because you're not beating a Torv and a BK in that area.
No.
They do choose to go meet them there, though, but SSG actually aren't contesting them. They're playing outside. They're playing more into the Maeve than the BK, and I don't think I hate it. I think they're getting a lot of room here just by keeping them stuck up in that high ground balcony area.
It's the one sentence to surmise Stonekeep. There's a lot of ways to play this point fight, man. People make mid-game adjustments, switch things up. But that BK pocket is starting to crush its way to the tune of 1170 towards the high ground, and nobody can stand in that line of fire for too long here. VP in control of keep, but being corralled, Bobby. 1 kill already for Sadak. Ares moving in for the second. He'll find it, loses life for it. But I think SSG are still looking to make this trade worthwhile. Vex gets another, or excuse me, he gets Ares but loses his life to Sadak. Nobody really out in front on the objective quite yet. 60% for Virtus.Pro. 2 for 2, Pacheco versus Sadak. And I think VP just have the reinforcements at this point.
They might, but bubbling the Mave, that's a ton of damage, especially onto the Ruckus here trying to dive. Body block him as long as he can, but Maeve's just a little bit too short to keep your Torvald alive. Objective control in favor of VP right now, but fantastic shots from Ares will help him retake it. And now they have it. They're going to get Fish. Overextends just a little bit there on the stairs. Look at these damage charts. Torvald really stacking things on the side of SSG.
2 more for free. Sadak, 4-1. He's cleaning up a couple of kills. He's fine with 3,800 damage. My man's finding a way to get the last hits in when he can. Every little bit counts, especially against Virtus.Pro. More and more damage dumping into Dosem. Here comes the Inflame, the seismic crash. This is it. This is the chance for Virtus.Pro to dance now. They find 2, only for 1. It's a 5 for 1, ladies and gentlemen. Freeze God, the only one able to put one up on the board before the dust settles in Virtus.Pro campaign on the first offensive Stone Keep.
Lack of a point tank is going to make this stuff very tough for them.
Yup.
Torvald does not deal with getting pushed very well. So once they own the point, it's almost a given that you
Do
lose
VP
it.
have anyone that likes to dive onto the back line and sit on low mobility options?
Maybe. It might be Vex. I mean, we saw his dive earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, is that what you're
Crunchy,
getting at?
I'm getting at Crunchy went and he sat on Sadak,
Yeah.
and there was nothing anybody could do about it. I mean, Torvald just can't move. That's an easy frag to me for pretty much the rest of the game. If it's happening this easily now, it only gets easier for Crunchy as Wrecker comes online. Torvald starts to, get Swiss cheese by this Ruckus, but Sadak's moving well. He's staying involved. He got his 4 kills with his 3,000 damage, so I think he knows his way around this Torvald pick. And as long as Freeze God continues to swing for the fences on Bob King, he'll do okay.
I like how SSG's kind of prioritizing some of their focus here. They know that Pacheco is willing to go in to die for 1 pick, so he's going to be, I think Fish is going to stay at very high deaths this entire game. I think that's kind of how they decided to deal with it, because we saw how good Willow was against them last week.
Yeah.
And they're just letting it through, because they know that Fish is going to use that crazy flutter distance to go in, maybe just go for 1 and die. But if they can keep equalizing it and then win the 4v4, it's always going to turn out better for SSG.
Well, after the way Brightmarsh went, I think if you keep Pacheco to a 1-for-1 trade, that's a fat win in my book. I mean, too many triples, near quadros in game 1. Freeze God is world class. He can go toe-to-toe, especially on a character like the King with a little Torvald pocket. This is a live fast, die young kind of game for SSG. Either they're going to kill everybody, or they're going to get 5 for 1 like they did in that final team fight of mid. 30 seconds on the clock. Deep overtime pushes are no problem for Virtus.Pro. They've already shown us that today in the 1 game that they have played. This kind of cleanup skirmishy fight turns into a lot of blood loss for SSG, and FRZ very staggered. Bobby, I don't know if they're going to get their feet back under them.
Don't think so. I mean, it's so hard for them. This is the worst situation for a Torvald comp. They're going to have to throw Rashao on the point. He's going to go down very quickly. I mean, his Seismic Crash and Hexafire being used for it too. And the through time and space misses. First time I've said that today.
Yeah.
Finding 2.
The percentage.
My ratio. It's down the drain. But that's a lot of ults used by them. And you know what? That's VP's confidence. They know what they can do to a Torvald if they get into his face.
They like to get the damn points on the board, make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And here's high efficiency offense. Who needs all this 10,000 damage per minute, these backliners? Get the 4 kills with less than 4K, and then come talk to me, baby.
You just can't fight this man's efficiency. 1 shot, 1 kill. That's the last thing I'd expect to be hearing from a Torvald.
He's just gumballing people across the map.
It's like old Torv. No fall off, 200 damage per shot, Torvald.
And a sad story now unfolding as he's moved from 4-1 to 4-5, 8,000 damage. But he's here to pocket, ladies and gentlemen. As much as we've seen Sadak control teams, control maps, he's left on an island here again. It's an easy target for K-Crunchy. Sometimes you look at these supports and low mobility backliners, but that Torvald can't get out of the way. SSG have got to fight fast. The perfect seedling there. Does that actually kill Freeze? He has to Poppy Bomb up into the air. he's effectively dead. I mean, he's just trapped in this corner until he gets his Torvald back.
He did actually get the mark from Genos, which barely kept him alive, and hopefully he gets the bubble in time. He will. This is a zooming boy, but Vex actually managed to avoid it, and he doesn't have the drift. Too much acceleration, not enough handling. FRZ cannot find what he needs to. VP have total control of the keep, and they're going to get FRZ here too.
Looking like a bullfighter. I mean, Vex saw that one coming a mile away, sidesteps it at the last moment. And FRZ goes screaming by him into the wall. Doesn't have the turning radius. SSG, they gave it one good hurrah in that mid, but that was really not a lot there. Virtus.Pro had that one from start to finish. They simply repeat what they've done in the previous 6 minutes. I mean, they're good to go. This one will be wrapped up 4-0. After a hell of a fight on Bright Marsh. Spacestation looking a little worse for wear here on Stone Keep.
I think they can keep adapting this though. Aries going in with the Midnight finds Cruncy, 1 kill on the other side too. That's Odo's, I think, only his 2nd death, so he's performing well, but FRZ's there for the cleanup.
Ooh.
This Torv comp, it's gonna get even harder though as the game goes on. We know how much Torv and Khan kind of fall off when Wrecker comes online. It's gonna basically make it come down to how good the first shot is, because honestly, that's all you're gonna get with the damage boost from the Torv.
Big true, and you're looking at a lot of damage amp at the moment here. Blast Flower stacking up, Enflame providing another 30% on top. Midtow running for his life. There's not a better support character in the game to do that, but everyone has fallen around him. There's no one left to retreat to, so Midtow will head to spawn. Oh, Ares, excuse me. He is deep, deep, deep in VP territory. Ares just constantly checking, looking and waiting for Ares to inevitably pop back up somewhere. Vex is low right now. He's the target. I don't know if Ares knows. And again, I don't know if he saw it. I'm looking at it the whole time. Hard for me to say. I'm watching through spectator. Ares is in game, very focused on certain points on the screen. Rashao will overpower Cruncy to start this one off. Doe quickly answers back. 1 more burst, 2 more bursts, cleans up Sadak. Meanwhile, Ares has fallen again. We've said this a lot. It's Midtow left alone, stranded, fighting out of spawn as this one creeps towards its final destination here. One last hurrah, no amp to get it back and quickly back into spawn. Not much to speak on there. Stone Keep very cleanly for Virtus.Pro. That ties the set up though, ladies and gentlemen. Despite what we saw there, this is a tie ball game. VP kind of needed that one to get back in it.
Definitely a good momentum reset for VP, and I think this is going to kind of set the story for the rest of this game, the set in general, because the team with the point tank won. Then the team with the point tank won. The team with the one of the Inara Barrack has taken it both times, and they performed great. So I'd expect to see more bans, more priority on that as time goes on, because I'm pretty sure Doe had a monstrous game that set.
There's really never been a better set to talk about the point front line, and we highlighted that matchup a little bit on the desk as well. Barrack is such a big part of VP's success. Barrack is such a big part of SSG's success, as well as Inara. I mean, Rashao and Dosips, much more so than a lot of point tanks have ever been, are a huge part of the success of either of these teams. Whatever way it goes, if it needs to be aggressive or passive, these guys can really tailor a team fight with their point front lines. We'll head to a quick break, and we'll be back with Game 3.
INAP, powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
Game 2 is in the books, and we're tied up at 1. A little bit more convincingly, though, Virtus.Pro this time around. Stone Keep 4-0, Great draft from them top to bottom and just played it to a T. Gormizer, we've now seen 3 Torvald games today.
Yeah.
Only one of them has been a win. Is he maybe not as strong as we're assuming, or did Virtus.Pro just play into it well?
I think they played into it well, but maybe a little bit of both. Like, I mean, his update doesn't happen until next week again, so this is just people knowing how to deal with him. And that honestly puts me more on the fence about banning him. I mean, like, some of these teams have figured it out. Granted, you don't ban him because his potential is going to be so insane. You kind of ban him because dealing with it, if it's good, is so annoying.
Potential.
Yeah, and so it's something you have to deal with. Freeze God, I'm going to throw out there, though. Had a lot of damage, 7, 7, and 7. Did a lot. No really good King Bomb that happened in that game. That's really the issue that kind of came down with it, is that Bomb King was kind of essential, I think, to make this draft work. And I can't count how many times I saw a King Bomb get popped too early or drive into a corner. Like, it didn't connect.
Didn't work out this time around. Vex doing some KDAing of his own this time around. Midtown, great game on Brightmarsh. Vex with a good answer. Hard to find one person on Virtus.Pro to kind of highlight. I think all of them had pretty phenomenal slash lines. I got to give a nod to Dosups as well after a tough game 1 on the Fernando, coming back into it here. But Vex, he talked in that pregame interview about the fact that he can open up, play a little bit more aggressively, do some kill and do some damage as well. And last game, I think, is a perfect example of the comfort that he's feeling in this new lineup.
I mean, being able to come through, aggression has been kind of the I think the word thrown out for them. They were talking about it in their interview. You got to see some of it there. I think being on the Furia helps kind of enable that for the team. And at the end of the day, I mean, Vex is comfortable on any support you give him, but Furia seems like home right now. Yeah,
it's true. I think because we've seen kind of the support meta shifting around just a little bit. Genos has been in, Damba's, kind of dipped the toes in here and there. Furia has started to become a mainstay. I remember when the last split first started, every once in a while you'd see a Furia, and it just wasn't, that was like a big surprising pick.
Yeah.
Never surprised to see it for Vex. So I'm excited to see maybe where he adapts to as this split goes on. I wonder now if SSG maybe move away from the Torvald kind of force, because they do first pick it, but I think that opens up a lot on the opposite side. Virtus.Pro were able to grab themselves some high-priority frontliners, and you see the difference it makes when Dosups is able to play comfortably.
And honestly, that, again, it's kind of the door that you have to walk through if you're SSG or VP. You go back to Anara being banned, all of a sudden Virtus.Pro aren't able to do so. And I think that's a legitimate strategy here for SSG. You make Dosups uncomfortable, and then all of a sudden you are kind of controlling the objective. You push him away. Fernando was not exactly the best look for him. And so opening that door up, I think, is going to be a lot more solid, but you have to kind of look at what you're banning. If you let Inara through, then he's going to be comfortable. If you ban Inara, Willow's going to make it through, and you have to determine, are we going to pick it up, or are we going to let Fish Echo have it again?
Well, they've given Fishy Willow twice, 1 win, 1 loss for SSG. Splits it on Korea, waits in the wings. That's another great topic, honestly. I mean, there's a lot to look at between these two teams, picks and bans wise. Both of them have felt okay to let Willow through, notably Virtus.Pro get the first pick. SSG unbanned, but let Fishy pick her up in lieu of the Torvald last game. Not going to happen. Neither case this time around. SSG take her away. Grab Khan first up, so we're going to have to see Fisheko on something new this game. Still some front lines, though, to be had. Barrick maybe is the right move here for Virtus.Pro. If you've seen, Dosups on something a little less comfortable, and then something where he's very good, maybe you reach a little bit. Go for the Inara, of course, who's still available.
One of the things that immediately jumps to my mind with Splits on Corey is that Ruckus can be played here. He can be played pretty well here. And if Crunchy's already kind of in that mindset, in that zone, maybe if they grab up a Cassie, then I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw him later.
Is Ruckus like a mood? You got to be in there.
Ruckus is in a mood. Yeah, I mean, honestly, kind of. He's different from some of the other tanks. And that, well, he's a DPS with a big health bar, really, when it comes down to it. Like, we talk about, like, Torvald kind of being a support with a big health bar. Ruckus is that with the DPS. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Virtus.Pro, like, if that was something that would come up in their mind. But if Cassie gets locked in here, they're probably going to veer about as heavily away from that as you can. which is why Ash would be interesting.
For this, Ziggs?
So that would be the other pick I'd go for if I'm
born
Virtus.Pro. But if that gets picked up, then maybe you go for the Barrack anyway, and you just go another Barrack.
I think that's important to look at if we want to peel the page back to last game. You picked the Torvald, but then they got Erase on Cassie in the last game, and that's just so much shield break potential. So I think rotating a little bit, picking up Cassie for your side, very strong, very good here. Virtus.Pro, though, Erase, he's such a flexible player, but if he can get Leon or Cassie, he'll feel fine. Cassie off the board, Leon still certainly available for him here. And I think Leon could be a good pick on Splitstone Corey if they want to go that direction. Virtus.Pro taking some time to think it over, though. They got a frontliner and a healer locked in on the opposite side. Frontliner's all done for SSG with Cassie. Virtus.Pro will have that last flex pick if they want to leave it open to direct damage. Maybe a flank or a blaster for that last one, but diving deep into their bank time.
Yeah.
I say trying not to overthink it, but looks like there were some conversations around the Ruckus and some conversations around the Victor. Not the first name that jumped to my mind, but seeing it now, I think it makes some sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the maps we've seen him kind of on the rise. I give him Ice Mines, Frozen Guard, Splitstone Quarry, places all where Victor can be successful, and we've seen him be successful. And this was like a long bank time for Virtus.Pro because no matter what, you're showing off something, right?
Yeah.
You either get your other tank and they know what front lines they have to deal with, but you have to lock in one DPS.
What doesn't
And
kill
so they
me,
kind of go the route like
running.
Cassie with Genos behind her and a Wrecker means that Ruckus is going to have a rough life this game. But Maeve, maybe a little wiggly, can kind of escape the Victor, maybe bully the Victor.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on Erase and how he's going to be feeling. But as far as Splitstone Quarry specific lineups go, I'm feeling a little more Virtus.Pro. Like
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
there's kind of leans into
I
the
agree.
map. But it has to be noted that this is a historical SSG map. This is one that they have dominated so many times.
That's a really good point to bring up. They were one of the first teams kind of at the end of last split, somewhat at the, well, not really at the start of this split since they've only been here for a couple of weeks, but really started to figure out the push. We've seen some 4-0s at SSG when traditionally we're not. Got 10 champions locked in, though. Virtus.Pro leaning into the Victor. Not a lot of data points for Erase on Victor. I can't imagine that it's too far off of one of his best, though.
Point, click. As long as you do that really well, it should
Erase
hit the
does
mark.
that very, very well.
So it's one of those things. It's in line. A lot of the things I think that kind of open Victor up on this map is less how can you handle more than likely burst mode and the long range, but where are your grenades going? How well do you know the angles to throw those at? Can you bounce them around like into bleachers? Can you get them up into the high ground? Like, can you chase people down without having to actually chase them down by using your grenade?
It could be burst mode, could be shrapnel. What we do know, though, is Splitstone Corey, Game 3.
Thank you, boys. As we were sort of conjecturing about the way this draft ended, a lot kind of still open, a couple things up in the air. Prioritization of the Maeve for SSG despite a Cassie already locked in. And we talked about some of the pros and cons of that. SSG end up going for the Maeve over the Eevee and letting Fish get it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we discussed it back and forth. I think what I was thinking was that they'll just put freeze on the Maeve and they'll just slam them into each other on the side of the map. See who wins, because I think Maeve does tend to have the advantage in that 1v1, barring someone coming to save the Eevee during the ice block. You said that if they had taken the Eevee, Maeve Victor, maybe not things that Fishigo would want to play.
Right.
Could also be a predictability thing. SSG knows
So
what they
hard
wanna
to draft
play
in this
against, right?
game, man.
Yeah.
There's so many factors to consider, and well, that's that. Fisheko will be first blooded. It wasn't the FRZ 1v1. Both getting involved in the team fight, including FRZs. He comes ripping around the backside. One Pounce cleans this up. He might try and do it with the daggers. It's done and dusted. Freeze basically forgot about that kill. The team took care of it. Now he's on zone duty. Maybe a couple of lucky dismounts would do him well. Inara off her horse of her own accord. We're getting ready to get in this fight. 57% for SSG. Virtus.Pro looking to take it back.
Fair pressure up top from Rashao, too. I know he's waiting
Blink
for that
back.
wormhole, but Fishigo just a little bit too smart for that. DR used very early by Doe. He had to get in, but all the tanks on VP can just get
Tanks
focused
are dead.
down. Doe thrown off. Erase pushed back, but it's control by SSG. Their tanks can hide. They have the cap time. They have the advantage.
Aries misses a couple of shots on the Fish as he heads to the high ground, but Freeze quickly compensates to the back line now. Aries is free to go. I mean, goodness gracious, SSG. Mean killing machines, all of them, everybody getting involved at one point or another there. As the overtime will expire in favor of Black and Gold, the first offense of the game finally in favor of SSG. They put their foot down, and they have an overpower. This is a tough corner to break, but Rashao has the resources to do it, and he hits it.
What an overpower through the cracks there, being saved just a little bit, and the throw for good measure to finally get that kill. That mid, I think, was off the back of VP's positioning. I don't think they needed to all stack Quarry, let themselves just get wrapped. Freeze got that free flank, and now VP in such a rough position. They trade out for Rashao, but 1 for 1. They need to spend some ultimates, I think, if they want to retake this, and they're focusing Fish so hard whenever he tries to go in.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, though, and I kind of want to dive on that a little heavier. And that for my money, Splitstone Quarry has, you only need one, but it's almost the most important map for a flanker, in my opinion. It's almost like that conversation you have on Timber Mill or Frog Isle. If you get an uncontested sniper on those maps versus an uncontested flanker on this map, it really has an impact. So to pick that flanker and then to, you know, Fishy just dove in, dude. He full sended instantaneously. And you're right, he gave up that free angle to Freeze through lava. He comes right around, and it's nothing. It's a free team fight for him.
Flankers are so good on this map that people are picking Eevee in the PC up. Let that sink into you.
Yeah.
That's not a place we normally see
Yes, they
Eevee,
are.
but it's just that good on this map. And now they're playing it a little bit better, and they're finding it actually hard to find any kills on VP. I mean, they get one, but Crunchy, this Ruckus has, both tanks have these discrete moments of survivability where they can just buy time and delay them, and it's really, what a double kill with one shot by Pacheco. I don't need to finish my thought, he'll just do the thinking for me.
Yeah, we like that. Not often you get to see the old one-shot, 2 kills there, especially Eevee's fall-off is vicious. If you're not hitting it head-on, you're not really hitting it. 30 on the clock. As the third announcer is so kind to remind us, every ultimate on board for Virtus.Pro. SSG nearly there as well. This is the corner, man. I thought they were going to be able to break it with that quick, clean overpower from Rashao, but it has been a little bit more to it than that.
They actually made a lot of room here. Slugshot, great pickup for Sadak, letting him put on a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Fish kind of stuck here. I don't know if Fury has the angle. Vex didn't, and he did drop for it too, so he gave up that high ground, but Arrays punishing anybody who tried to do it. They don't know he's in Quarry. Arrays picks up a quick triple. 1 kill for every shot in that burst that he had, and they're not going to be able to... Okay, Sadak runs away, gets a kill, but VP on the back of Arrays managed to hold that point.
A dive, but a successful one at that. Arrays just chainsaws his way through the back line. Nobody to really contest. And the way these Victors are building their loadouts, it's kind of built for that. You know, it's kind of fun to watch, too, because Victor is so, you're in or you're out. You know, you can't really, you know, beat around the bush. You have to make your decision. You got to get in for it. Arrays does just that. A nice 2-for-1 to kick off the clip. Opens up the space for everybody else to kind of get in position for that final spot we just saw. And the 2 flankers, they're the conversation that started this all, and they are still up there at the top, despite that insta-death at the start. 4 and 3 for Fish. Freeze, I think, was 6 and something. I couldn't catch his death. 6 and 3 and 6 assists. What do they change? I mean, what does Fish do different this round?
Anything but what he did last round.
Sure.
I mean, if you want me to just
a
be
market
blunt about
improvement.
It. Yeah, exactly. It's not a really hard bar, but
1v1, King of the Ring.
It is.
Let's
but he
go.
has Scout the wall hack advantage towards
fight.
FRZ. Great stop by Sadak there. Hexafire is not going to do much to that shield, assert dominance too, so he was invincible. Didn't even need the shield regardless. Arrays got forced down. That was a good start for SSG, and I think it's off the back of the Scout. How do you fight a flanker when he has wall hacks?
So much information there. Yeah, I was gonna make fun of Fish because it's like it looked like he backed off, but he scouted there. FRZ has all the information. Ooh, almost into the fidget spinner there, playing with fire. Arrays does get that big game tag for ISOL 2,300, I think, from the Wrecker. I mean, that's just a ton of, that is one Cassie crossbow bolt. Folks, let's talk about it. 48% for SSG. The Ice Storm slowing down Ash. Sadak disengages, but still, that ticker continuing to fill up for SSG.
They have great control here. This Ruckus, this is the last person he wants to duel into.
Yeah.
Big game Cassie has Ruckus for breakfast without
Did
any
you learn
kill.
nothing? Boy. Not again. He's not going to step to this Cassie twice. He can't. Gruncy definitely struggling with the matchup, but we talk about it so very often. This is it playing out in front of your eyes. Big old shoulder bash. I love it. Top 3 ways to get a kill in Paladins. Long distance shoulder bash. Give me that every day of the week. Sadak, he's picked slug shot. He absolutely gets credit for it. He coined that in phase 1. Nobody else was doing that. That is his thing. He's running it back here. So far, so good. Sadak has been able to stay involved. Ash doesn't do a lot of damage every shot, but if every shot counts, it adds up.
It especially adds up against these squishy DPSs they have. I mean, they're against an Eevee, and Victor's not super squishy, but squishy enough in the face of Ash damage. She does more than enough. 2 for 2 for both teams, 1 more going towards VPs. Now, they have the advantage, but it's going to be hard to get FRZ down. FRZ wants to keep this pressure up. Both of them, they finally realize it's a lost fight. Rochelle can't make it away, but Maeve is just mobile enough to do so. And VP going to take a little bit forward, but I doubt they're going to go too far. You don't want to give up that amazing defensive position on this map.
35, same corner that they couldn't break last time around. Virtus.Pro still surging forward with confidence. And this has been one of the most redefining, I think, fundamental things about just this year in Paladins is teams, when they get you on the back foot, they're going to run you down like a dog in the street until every last one of you is back in your spawn. I mean, they are not going to give you anything. Mitao finds a little something from game 1 here in game 3. We'll see if that's enough to light the fire.
I think the logic about them teams getting more aggressive, right, kind of going through the throat in these situations, I think that's just a product of these teams being better. Not because it's always the right decision, but because if you're the one making the decisions, if you're the one just making the choice to go in and you're not letting them play in their own terms, you can win even against these, slightly adverse skill matchups. If you think this team might be better than you mechanically, but you're just playing in their face, they can't make those choices.
Quick one. Yeah, quick 1-for-1 here. The payload is further than it was last time. But Virtus.Pro still standing strong, not spending anything either. SSG have burned a couple of resources. Obviously, time and space at the very start. That's already back over halfway. Poking and prodding here. It comes down to whether or not SSG finds something they like, and hell, Bobby, if they don't want to go for it.
They do. Get rid of Cruncy. That's Hexafire out of the picture if they do want to go for it. Mitao's charging this so fast. This man better be buying morale boost at this point, because these ultimates have been finding everything. SSG, great control. Raze gets forced out to this bottom left. This is an alright position for him, especially with Sadak playing this long angle, but he's not helping in main at all. Don't might end up losing this fight with the heals that SSG has.
Ruckus is back. Overpower advantage is gone. Cruncy immediately finds a frag. Ares evens it up. Fishy tilts it back into VP's favor, into the ice block, tanking as much as he can. Virtus.Pro defend successfully. The right target's dying. The contest fails. And back to 2-2 we go. Mitao again, rushing home a critical snipe. I mean, I doubt anybody will find as many time and space kills as that Bright Marsh game for a long, long time. He's had a hell of a day so far. Likes this character. I mean, this was something, people kind of, I think, identified pretty quickly when they were playing around Comfort in their first couple of games back. But I think Comfort is not the conversation today. He's having an impact. He's not just picking this because he doesn't want to play anything else. SSG are leaning on Mitao to have these types of performances. They need every little bit of help they can get.
It doesn't matter how bad Genos is in the meta. This is a good meta for him, but if my Genos player is doing what he did game 1, I'm picking Genos every game.
Yeah.
I don't even care. It's about how well you play.
I'd be curious to hear anyone's case on, counter-arguing that. Early team fight here. Doey finds a crash, but he can't get the kill. A beautiful Siege Shield. Whether he meant to or not, Sadak just saved Ares' life. Ruckus doesn't want to take that toe-to-toe with Big Game yet again. The barrage goggles are up, but quickly back down as a Raze is not going to get that ultimate off for free. The dust settles, and nobody really gets anything. That one's pretty much a wash.
Yeah, 12 for 12. The target swapping from SSG is so good. They're always turning for whatever the priority is. So great on them. I think that's what's really helping them in a lot of these situations, just knowing Victor's going, get him. Fishy goes blinking and get him. Just very, very fast priority for them. Overpower missed for SSG, very unfortunate, but I mean, they're charging these ults so fast. He just used that in the last overtime push, so it doesn't matter if he misses, he'll have it back in probably 20 seconds tops.
You ain't saying, ain't telling no lies here to the back line. Quick up down for Sadak. He gets the stun on a 1, but again, it's trading out. FRZ will get it 2 for 1 for SSG. Finally a chance to tilt this one. FRZ puts a double together. Now has to duel Fish. One more shot from really either player would do it. Fishy looks for it, but Freeze finds it with a little bit of help from Sadak on top. Spacestation finally able to find a convincing win and get this capture rolling.
That's that slug shot value. Regular Ash might not have hit that shot, but it managed to confirm on him, and Crunchy's gonna go in for this, and actually, are they ready? But he has the grip. Both dashes were used to touch. He doesn't get there in time, and SSG bring it to a 3-2. As expected, it got so close, but Midtown so good on this Genos. I mean, timing the Void Grip. You'd expect it at that point. The team was forward enough to pressure him to use that other dash too early.
You know, Victor has this going for him too, but characters like Genos that are simple, you can't miss Void Grip, you can't screw up the dash, it's just a movement speed bonus. You can't screw up the heal unless you auto-aim onto the wrong target. I mean, you know, you don't set that bar too low, but it's all about the timing. Any character that's simple still has that nuance, and Midtown shows us there with a perfect little Void Grip. Inflamed, try and slow down Sadak. He was on Torvald on Stone Keep, but now he's back in the driver's seat. He kind of dashed the spawn wall there. We're not going to talk about that one.
Talk about what?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I blacked out for a second.
I mean, yeah, the Vex just got a good kill on Sadak.
Oh, yeah. That's great stuff by Vexer. Absolutely phenomenal player. Handsome guy. All-around winner.
Absolutely. YouTube star.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to get the autograph after the set. Hopefully. He's blown me off a couple of times this phase, but we'll figure it out. Cruncy gripped up Commander's grab. Battle shout here to keep Freeze nice and healthy. More importantly, keep this 13 streak burning. Daggers after dagger. Thought he had the kill. Counted his chickens a little bit earlier there. Doesn't cost him a ton. Obviously, min-maxing is, you know, never more important than in a PPL game, so you want to do everything you can. And whether or not that caused the fight to fall apart in favor of VP defensively, we'll never be able to say, but 50 on the clock. This same corner giving SSG trouble a third time.
This is just the split stone. This is such a hard area to break through, especially when you have a strong flanker like Fish. They can get into your backline so easily. Your tanks end up so separated from your supports that no healing can really come in. You can see it right now, Fisher go on them in lava, and he gets out for free. Such a strong defensive position. I want to see if SSG are willing to spend anything. If they do and they don't get it, it goes to the last mid-fight, but they are willing to spend something. But the wall catches the assert dominance, so he doesn't get the invincibility. He has to back up, though. Yep. That would have been a sick play anywhere else on the map, but unfortunately, Sadak's still able to get it, and Erase goes down to the stun.
Now, is that some tech?
Yes.
That's some tech? Okay.
I did it in a PML match, and you guys never said anything about
it. Oh, boo-hoo. The violin ensues. I mean, doing that reliably, if you can do it, I'm here for it. That's tough stuff. There is some, you could see there's some elevation, vertical leeway, whatever you want to call it on assert dominance, but not a lot. Sadak had to back up there.
It's a lot more vertical, but not much down.
Sure.
That's the thing. So you can die on like a box next to it or on the cart if it's on an incline properly. 2 kills for SSG. They want to use Seismic Crash to equalize it, but it only finds Rashao. Doe left an Annihilate with no damage reduction, but VP are actually finding some trades here.
They are managing to fill this one up. It's close. Fish into the ice block, tanking, buying time. Every second is valuable. Crutzy dives onto the cart, trying to slow down Freeze, Erase. He gets off the leash for a second, and you see his name in the feed twice. That's the way Victor goes, especially at this level. These guys know how to take their engagements. Victor is, if nothing else, a chainsaw, man. Just that. He chews through targets for sure. To the back line, this was a fun one. This was a very even fight up until this point when Freeze got to the back line. He made it count, trying to track that Eevee. He's a damn good flyer himself, so he kind of knows the tricks. And I think one of the tangent here.
Yeah.
Playing projectile characters, one of the things that just helps me, and we saw Freeze do it a little bit there, sometimes you just gotta wait. You gotta kind of identify the movement pattern, and you see him he throws a couple of wild daggers, and then not another dagger comes out until he identifies a trajectory for Fisheko. And then he plugs them both home. Some help from Sadak there, of course. That wasn't the most vacuum 1v1. That wasn't your King of the Ring matchup at all. but I think Freeze showing a couple of great fundamentals there on the projectiles.
Look at this play by VP. I was about to say it looks good, but apparently not enough. Vex getting caught out there by Ares positioning in the quarry. Ruckus trying to 1v1 a Cassie. We all know how that goes, and that's about it. Ares picking off Cruncy. Now SSG, they want to zone. Freeze getting a great stack around the fish too, so they're looking at in a great position right now if they can get some dismounts.
Have to give you credit, Kresnik. I think, despite what I brought up about picking Maeve or picking Eevee, the duel between Maeve and Eevee has been a heavily leveraged advantage for FRZ Gods so far in this matchup. Overpower grabs Dosups. That's good for the kill. I assume he's moved on to try and find Vex. Cruncy rotating back for the peel, but it just doesn't come in time. Sadok still on Cruncy's case. Finds him as well. Freeze got an erase. He's going to try to chainsaw his way on through. But this is SSG taking back the lead with confidence, with style. And my goodness gracious, we asked how much can they improve in a week, and I'll be damned if they didn't show us exactly how much.
Great. I like the adaptation from VP, but it just didn't work. SSG, I think, were too ready for it on that last mid. Ares alone in the quarry. SSG seemed to know what VP was going to do. Literally, it was just him in the quarry. And Vex backed up into Saw Room, that little room with the bridge up top, died to Ares alone. They weren't ready.
Tough stuff there. Splitstone Quarry, it's not a niche map, but I have to say SSG is one of the best in the league in my book. I think Navi's good here as well. This is a map that you can get caught with your pants down a little bit if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not necessarily super practiced. I think this was one of SSG's best foot forwards. They needed to take this one. They're going to need every little bit of help if they want to grab this set over Virtus.Pro, one of the best teams in the league. That does it for Game 3, though. We're going to go to a break and come back for Game 4. The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
Apparently the only options in this set are a 4-3 SSG win or a 4-0 Virtus.Pro win. We've gotten two of the former, only one of the latter up to this point. Most recently, 4-3 for SSG on Splitstone Quarry. Lots of fun to watch this one break down, and we kind of mentioned it pregame. Apparently SSG, they've got Splitstone Quarry figured out. Now just 2 games away, Gormizer, from taking the win here in this set.
I mean, being able to show up, even if it's just these 2 games, like it's 2 maps that they've been very, very solid on in the past. It's been 4-3s, like they've been close victories, but being able to take a win on Virtus.Pro is huge right now.
Yeah.
So it just, again, shows how much they can learn. You give them a week, and these guys take a mile. So I'm interested to see how they keep evolving, since arguably they have the most games that they're going to have to play in the latter
a little
half
bit behind.
of this split.
A little bit behind. Diving into the stats, though, Erase topping things off, 133,000 for him. Freeze got not far behind on a Maeve, of all things. 21-5 for Freeze got on the Maeve this time around. I was pretty impressed, though, by Ares' performance in this game on the Cassie. Twice as many deaths, but hanging right in there. 18 kills, nearly pushing 20, and then 20 assists. I think the Cassie really starting to hit home for him.
And I think the biggest thing is, and this is just a coincidence at the end of the day, but 18 kills for Ares, 18 deaths down there for Cruncy. It's not all one-on-one
Only
there,
killed Cruncy.
but it's those moments like Ares' potential to deal with dose-ups, to deal with Cruncy, to deal with Vex, to deal with Arrays was just as high as Freeze God. Freeze God just had the kit to also get him out of there.
Right.
But there are a lot of moments where this is the dream setup, right? I mean, between the two of them, that should be 2, 3, 4 kills, right? And that is exactly what you got out of them, is these moments that Ares was able to be zoned in and kind of showcase what his Cassie can do. And with Freeze God kind of taking up the other side, he had open reign to just deal with all of the frontline pressure that any Virtus.Pro member could put up.
Yeah, I don't think Ares often gets enough credit for how game-changing some of his performances can be. It's always good to highlight him in this one. Big Cassie game, and we questioned in the pick and ban phase. I mean, they got a Cassie on the opposite side. Do you really want to play a Ruckus into it? They did, and it was not the best for K Cruncy.
Yeah, 9-18, definitely not the matchup they wanted. I think that was it worked well on Stone Keep. I mean, it's the same thing I said going into it. It worked well on Stone Keep. This is a map it can work well on. Let's try it, and that's probably very similar to the kind of conversation they would have had there. And then it fell through, and it's just like because Cassie's really good against him, but Maeve functions very similarly to that. And so SSG kind of keeping us on our toes.
Well, to maintain symmetry, surely this is a 4-0 for Virtus.Pro after SSG takes Splitstone Corey 4-3. Cassie, I think, is going to end up being kind of a storyline to watch in this one. And it's not so much because anyone on SSG is a crazy Cassie player. You saw Ares does it very, very well. Erase certainly is. But over the last 2 games in this set, you know, the team with Cassie has ended up pulling it out, and it's, you know, you play Cassie into a Torvald composition, you play Cassie into a Ruckus. Maybe it's the other team just kind of out-drafting themselves in a way. But something to keep an eye on, to be sure. Inara banned out here for Spacestation Gaming leaves open some frontline potential. Now, this is that frontline question that they raised in game 1.
Yeah.
Do you reach for the Barrack as your first pick to get dose-ups on something that's comfortable now that Inara's gone?
That's you're weighing it not just to give him something comfortable.
Take away, right.
But Willow as well. I mean, kind of being in the conversation right now, you have to decide, is this going to be more important than the Willow? They say no, which means SSG, I wouldn't be surprised if Chow almost immediately gets the Barrack for themselves and maybe just match it with a healer. They can go for another tank. I mean, this is very similar to what we saw earlier.
I think these are the exact first 3. I think these are the exact first 3. You get Will locked in for Virtus.Pro. SSG at least hovering the Barrack and the Khan for the time being. I think that that'd be a good answer for them. It worked out on Brightmarsh. So maybe why not more of the same for them here this time around. Going to be the Barrack, going to be the Khan. That raises the question, how do you feel about Fernando here? Need more data points on the opposite side to really feel it out?
For Jag Falls, that's where the disconnect starts to happen for me. This is going to, I can't believe I'm about to say this, I wouldn't mind seeing Terminus. If you can play it at the level that Zarini played it earlier, this is a map that can be pretty good for him. And I actually think against a Barrack, he could cause a lot of trouble. I mean, just maybe one Tierra Bulldozer, depending on what they go. If they happen to get a Ying, maybe it's even better for you. But you don't even need it to just destroy the turrets and hit Barrack all in one swing. You can kind of control the flow of the middle of the map, and Reanimate does a lot in this area. But that has to be something that you have in your pocket already. That's not something you can, game day decide, hey, guys, let's try Terminus right here. And it's like, no. Virtus.Pro would either have to have prepped that up or it's going to get thrown to the wayside. And I think going for the Cassie and the Furia is kind of showing that maybe they are unsure what tanks they want to go for, or maybe it's just that high a priority for them to get these two.
You get backline priority for Virtus.Pro on one side, as you point out, and then frontline priority on the opposite side up to this point. Raises the big healer question now. I mean, do you go Genos? Do you go Damba? If you're SSG, the flavor of the day has certainly been Genos throughout. Getting the Leon, that's another big storyline. Not only Cassie on one side, but the Leon answer has been the answer for the opposing team a few times. Looks like it is going to be Genos, leaving that last pick open for a little bit of flexibility. Willow for Virtus.Pro. How do you counteract that?
The next
SSG
time
doesn't
you see my
scream
banners,
Pip
run.
to me, but I always love seeing Pip on this map. Virtus.Pro are going to have to show their final 2 cards here, looking like, since they don't have Cassie on the opposite side, I feel a little bit better about the Ruckus.
Potentially going Ruckus Ash.
Okay, so you get
Ash
2
is-
off tanks.
is incredibly good. This is actually one of the things. She
I
isn't
can get us out
considered a
if you're
point
alive.
tank because
Right.
she's most often played by off tanks, but she fits that hybrid role perfectly. If you need her to stay on the
True.
objective, 90% damage reduction from her, having the assert dominance to stay alive on the objective, there's a lot that she can do that is point oriented that can help control this. But Virtus.Pro are relying a lot on kill you dead real fast and real good, whereas for SSG here, you know, Barrett, Khan, there's a lot of control coming down from him. Jinnis, Leon, Drogos, there's a lot of damage coming down.
Right.
Statue side, Drogos can kind of control the area unless they want to send Leon over there, in which case Drogos controls the point. No matter where they send their champions, they have pretty good reign of that part of the map.
Well, I can't wait to dive into this one. So why wait? Game 4. Let's go.
Almost the same draft, at least at the onset, as game number 1, and I'm not going to be the one to fault that draft. That was a phenomenal game. We get another game 1. I'm a very happy man. But this one definitely, you know, kind of went off the tracks in terms of following game 1. We'll see who it ends up panning out in favor of. Love that little intro there from SSG. Such a fun group of guys, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah.
Spending a lot of time with them.
I have been woken up many a time to Midtown coming out of the other room going, Bobby! I shouldn't have done that on the mic, but it's exactly what he says every single time. But Drogo's pick, Jaguar Falls, it's kind of interesting. I feel like it's so hit or miss. You can either
Big true.
you can either make it really strong if they're playing on the outside, but if they just wait inside, if they play around those rooms, Drogos won't really be able to do much. Those 2 tanks, though, they might not really want to be sitting inside.
Yeah, that's always a conversation because he kind of fell off on Jaguar Falls. It was once upon a time like his best map and all you were playing was combustible Drogos. But you had to have a couple of stars really bring the character back to the map. Wormjets, obviously, being a completely different talent this season than it was last season. Certainly helps him, you know, increase viability in some certain ways. We're seeing whole new perspectives from Drogo, specifically on Stonekeep, on Jaguar Falls. You're seeing some of that vegetation up at the sky, like top of the box sort of angles, and it's just weird. It's like you're not used to being attacked from that way or from, you know, like where do I have to look really? But you're right. It's all about, are we inside? Are we taking these fights outside? Where you sort of control the flow of traffic to is so important on this map.
You talking about the angles, too, is one of those things that Meta Pusher said when Wormjets Drogos was, like, just entering the meta, was that you're playing him like a sniper, almost. But you're just playing him from a sniper that's on an off angle 100% of the time. You're just spamming that weird angle.
It's fun, because then you see them, they get the one direct hit, and they know it's time, and then they just descend from the heavens.
Propel 5, takes them straight in.
Onto their target. It's very funny, because, you know, you get, that's Drogos, though. We say, oh, this paper matchup, that paper matchup, blah, blah, blah. He gets the first hit. Sometimes, in Fish's case, it's for 1050 with Fusillade. And the matchup goes out the window. It doesn't matter. And when you get punched in the face for 1,000 damage, that's always been Drogos' story. He's had his counters. He's had champions he's supposed to counter. But more than anything, it comes down to the player hitting the damn shot.
For sure. We actually might even see more of other legendaries, other talents on this character as time goes on, because after this week, 25% effectiveness in the base kit, and the recharge is gone.
Yeah.
So we might see combustible more on this map. We might see a resurgence.
So, in your opinion, and I don't know how concretely you've formed it yet about Wormjets, it's not. Some people say it's dead. Some people are saying, you know, where do you kind of sit on the scale?
I think it'll not be played solely because of everything else being better, but it won't be bad. Like, I think just Fusillade and combustible in the hands of these players with that effectiveness in the base kit, I think that's going to be enough to put them over the edge.
See how it plays out. A lot of stuff changing here pretty shortly. Kate Crunchy will be the first blood at the hands of Freeze God. Struggling to deal with that big game Cassie on Splitstone. Now he's got to worry about a Drogos. But that's the life of a Ruckus player, man. You have got some tough matchups you have to be aware of. You're also not that hard to hit. when somebody pulls the trigger, you're probably taking damage.
Ruckus in 2019 is a 30-70 basically 100% of the time. I mean, you're always fighting uphill, but that's kind of why people just throw their Ruckus into a fight. You know, you'll see these Ruckuses on winning teams ending like 6 and 14. Because their job is to just use that damage reduction on the missiles.
Get in there,
a little
brother.
bit of burst damage, and if you die, you die. I mean, that's just that's the way of the road for a Ruckus.
It's thick Vic, man. You gotta commit to your fights. Pick the ones you like, but you gotta commit once you're there. 1 for 1. 99% though for SSG on the objective. Virtus.Pro is here to contest. Absolutely. This is not the end of the mid fight. More 1-for-1 trades. More of these team fights starting to feel like a little bit of a wash. This one's slightly in favor of Virtus.Pro. And they are starting to climb this one back up. 84, 87. Faye Flight met with a Dragon Punch, but Freeze is not interested in Fasheko.
He wants to go into main and catches Vex actually dashing away. What a good bait by him. No healing now on the board for
Oh,
VP.
he got him.
Great enlightenment by Ares to catch Fish on the way down too. Do they have the chance to touch point? I guess it doesn't matter if Ares is just going to kill everybody in mid.
There
Triple
it is.
Kill.
3 for enlightenment, or excuse me, from Leon. That enlightenment, though, was the headline of the story. Really, really, frankly, long range, normally used to turn around a 1v1 or something. And 4 of those 5 there, of course, you know, coming in that fight. Ares 5-1 when it's all said and done. An electric show. Frankly, you know, we got some famous blasters. We got some famous frontliners. It's kind of rare, but the hit scan DPS have not been at the forefront of the conversation. Arrays and Ares a little bit just drowned out, neither having bad performances, but it's just so hard not to watch all of the other stars currently playing for supremacy.
I mean, if Ares keeps playing like this, he's going to be establishing himself as, you know, another. He's always been that stalwart member of SSG, but everybody always like has their doubts about him. But he can make performances like this. He has the potential.
Yeah.
He's back from this break that they had, and he's showing that he's grown, even without being able to play that much during the break.
He's played for a lot of different teams. He's played different roles and stuff too. Again, starting to obviously settle into DPS at this point. That's where he spent a majority of his career, but he's not that purebred DPS, if you will. Fire spit to the back line here for Freeze God as SSG's really trying to break the base. That's a great way to get it kicked off. It's overpowered. It's the freest pick in all of Paladins. Rockets are good. Fish just gets read like a book. Freeze has his number today on Eevee, on Maeve, on Drogos. He's got it all in the pocket. We knew that coming in. This is why it's one of those most requested King of the Ring matchups. People want to see these two heavyweights go toe-to-toe, and I think Freeze and Fish have not disappointed.
That was a huge misstep by VP. They should not have dove to save a raise there. They basically just slowly staggered off of that overpower. Yeah, I wanted to mention it right away, but look at this. I mean, it's falling apart for them because of that. They go in, Fish has to get saved by Vex. Vex overextends for it. Fish dies, Vex dies, and it just all snowballs after that. If they had maybe just held back, said, we'll get our respawn, use our tanks to slow them down, maybe they would have bought enough time, but they thought they could force the issue, and when SSG is playing like this, I don't think you have a chance.
Beautiful stuff, man. I love to see a nice long-range Enlightenment. Partially because you never get to see it, but Enlightenment is actually like this badass, like Phoenix projectile, and you just never see it go that because it's so wind-up-y, telegraphy, and there's so many, you know, pluses to using it in a close-range environment that you never get to see that Phoenix kind of soar. But a cute one there from Ares, certainly, as he picks up record 2, nearly at record 3 after just 1 round of play. He is not diverting into other items as Freeze God has done, as everyone else has done in this game. He's going hard into that wrecker. It's going to help him, obviously, with his Ruckus and his Ashe matchup just a little bit. The team fight already kicking off, though. Dragon Punch is roaring through, and this one will come to a quiet end.
It was going to go for Crunchy, but they managed to have enough damage to get the pick before, so better to save his life.
Great grip.
Actually, Assert Dominance was used in the back, too, by Doe on more or less nothing. He gets away.
Don't do it.
Cute little angle, but
He
not
can't do
enough
it
to connect.
It's because you can't do it to him.
He can't
you know?
do it to him.
Like, that is... You're going to end somebody's career with that mid-tow. You've done enough, good sir. I think we don't need to see that anymore. Again, close range, impossible to miss. Nice one there from Ares, but Crunchy counters it out with a Hexafire. Makes sure he puts not 1, but 2 down with that ultimate. Hard to get value for that one. I always respect a good Hexafire at PPL level when I see it. 60% grabbed for SSG as Virtus.Pro get their feet back on the objective.
A little bit of a overzealous overpower from Sadak. He's getting forced out now. They can't stagger if they want to refight because of this double comeback mechanic. Freeze needs to find something in mid. Looks like they might throw Rashao at it. Actually gets saved. He managed to get the touch because of the boop. He's going to go down, but it might be even if SSG manages to find Crunchy here in mid.
Oh.
They do, but it's not.
They do, but
they did, but
I was about to start my engines with that Dragon Punch, and then the wind extracted from my sails, as well as SSG, as VP kind of scooped that one away. Comeback mechanic can do that to you. You got to really know how fast it's going to be ticking. It's so much faster, so much faster. You really have to be in game to feel it. But you know, there is that element of comeback mechanic always you have to play into. Quick flip up and over. Sadak and Ares find a couple. Sadak finds a second. Virtus.Pro, yes, they got that payload, but at what cost? They have absolutely no momentum going into this offense.
I feel like this is one of the best aggressive zoning maps, too. Think about how many games you've seen on this map where the team that's up 2-1 is just in their spawn. I have a feeling we're going to see this for the next minute or so, because it really is tough to break backlines on that edge very far away. They have so much room to just put pressure on without even being under any threat, basically.
What's that old mode? I don't think it's in... It was in like COD World at War. It's like Blitzkrieg or War. It's like you have like your objective, like your places you fight around. And on some maps, like in Ice Mines, there's like one plate. You fight at mid, and then you fight in the overpass to break the base. On Jack Falls, you can fight at the midpoint. You can fight immediately after, kind of in this area. There are so many just choke points to fight over. So I feel like when you do go for that aggressive zone, you know, you have so many places to fall back to and to advance to that you're actually not taking a lot of risks by going deeper into enemy territory. Sometimes the map even lends itself better to taking the fight there.
I think that's why teams like this map so much, because of that factor. It's just so safe. You can make a mistake and then hold them 2 chokes back if you want to take it that way, you know. VP stacking up here on the face side, taking a lot of cleave damage. So Sadak goes down, but everyone on VP has to back up. SSG will have the time to reheal if they take it, and they will, but I don't think it'll be enough as Freeze. VP managed to find 3 in that fight.
Only 18 on the clock. Not a lot of time to do it with, but not a lot of ways to go here for Virtus.Pro to tie up the game. Remember, that defensive point still on the table if SSG only want to siege it. They have overpower. They have some resources to spend. Try and hold this one. We're not inside of their heads. We don't know what their game plan is. They don't know how desperate they are to get this 3-1 lead. Freeze with nothing spent finds the first. Ares finds the next 2. Rashao throws his name on the board, and Freeze will find the 5th. 5-0. Not an ultimate spent. Not a hair out of place. A quick, quiet, clean defense for SSG. They do get that defensive point, and they are in as good of a scenario as they could ask for. Put this game away and go up 3-1 over VP. Words I never thought I'd speak today.
Oh, today, I was going to say, well, I mean, they 4-0'd them earlier in the season, but you're right. I mean, SSG looking very different. Sadak, actually, we're watching this replay now, but I was going to say, when they were holding, he actually bought a lot of time on the point. Waited till his shield went down. As soon as his shield broke, he dashed to the corner. Just bought enough time for Rashao to get back and get that contest back up, which kind of brought SSG to this best case scenario. I guess second best. Best case would be VP wasting all their ults and then going into this fight. But 5 ults versus 5 ults is not a bad place for SSG to be with the game in their hands potentially.
The young 6th man, the comeback mechanic man, already playing in full send from Pacheco. He wants it. Freeze God's got an answer. Not looking for the fairy, looking for K. Crunchy. Under the safety of the dome shield, he shall survive. Overpower, counters out assert. Dominance throws him back into it. Commander's grab, back out of it. They finally get the kill. Pacheco hasn't gotten a lot, but he did get out safely. Just got the 1 frag. Virtus.Pro in command of the objective for no longer. But with 78% netted, can you call it a loss?
I don't think so. A VP have a if VP get a single pick, they can flip this with no chance to retake from SSG. That's why SSG's so careful here on the back. FRZ has to play on the only side that he can. He's only going to be effective out there, so they're going to watch that side. And very aggressive by Doe, but no assert dominance for him. They have enough damage to burn him.
Wow.
Now SSG can just recommit as long as they can get a tank to touch the point in time.
They did, 93. And it's contested. Double kill for Erase, but there will be an overtime timer to fight through. Erase just doesn't care. 3 for him in this fight. Rashao having to make sure the objective doesn't go VP's way while having to fight a raise. Too much is asked of the mustached man, and he falls to Vex. Freeze meets a similar fate not but seconds later. And VP will stay alive here on Jaguar Falls.
So applied a lot of pressure. It was really risky, but ended up paying off. SSG brought people back, didn't have the way to contest, and it's not going to go down to some mid-aggression from VP. They're right in their faces here on this last point. FRC kind of ignored, I guess not long enough with Furia there, so they're going to have to go back to base, resettle. Cart still has a long way to go. Cute little skip there from Dell. It's always so fun carrying
I like
momentum.
those. I don't know. I never know if they're intentional, because that, especially, you know, shoulder bash tech, that's hard to, that's a hard distance to nail down, right? It's a long dash. You really got to know it and know the map. Fun stuff here. It's all about the min-max. It's all about the PPL at the moment. These have been great games today. Upsets galore, and SSG trying to maintain that motif here as we move through our second and final set of the day. Kruncy diving, but just coming up dry. Commander's grab is buying a lot of value, man. Sadak is playing well.
Sadak is so slippery, so hard to pin down, but Vex gets 2. Is FRC close enough? They have Rashao in the respawn. What a rocket by him, too,
Wow,
to catch
the
Vex on the way
no-look.
out. Oh, man. He doesn't need to look. He knows it's going to connect. He is FRZ.
So it's a good time to talk about that. I mean, and we've seen that. Fish did it today. Freeze did it today. That's that min-max. That's that no-look. Okay, that rocket's good. I'm getting a kill there. And you look away. Sometimes that chicken doesn't hatch. We saw that on Splitstone. But that's when it pays off. You know what I mean? He's already turning and looking at his next kill, getting his 2 rockets off on Fisheko as that one connects inevitably onto Vex. Great stuff there from Freeze, showing us the Blaster Master class. 44 seconds on the clock, inches to go for Virtus.Pro to tie this one up. Same scenario as last time. Every ultimate's ready to pop. But these teams, both the offense and the defense, want to get this done as efficiently as possible. Sneaky frag there from Freeze God. Finds an angle to get behind Doe's shield. That one won't connect either. Enlightenment goes wide right. The kills are being traded out either way, Bobby, so again, kind of a wash.
This is that little Drogo sniper play on the off angle.
Yep.
How do you expect that coming in? I was going to say SSG could use one thing, I think. They won't be in danger of getting too hard snowballed if they do. And Enlightenment was a good choice. I'd say it would be that or Dome Shield, but Dome Shield's so crucial.
Dome Shield is so crucial, yeah.
Doe actually going to just get immediately burnt. He does get the touch, but SSG in a solid position to hold this. Krunzy has to go in, and Ares respawning, though, is going to kind of limit the damage. And now Sadak might go down. SSG are going to have to use something if they want to hold this.
Uh-oh, again, this is not the game if Virtus.Pro convert it. They literally need a hair's breadth away. The second Freeze God goes down, that payload moves that final millimeter. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 3-3. Not a lot spent on either side. So we're going to get a good show. No comeback mechanic next time, so you know, Virtus.Pro, if they play things out the same way they did this time around, we said 78% netted can't really be counted as a loss, but they will not have as much this time to play with as this is 3-3.
VP have to keep playing kind of as clinically as they are. I mean, we saw in that second to last offense on the push, they had this perfect split of Kruncy and Fisheko pushing on the close side of the spawn, I guess through Secret. And then Erase and Doe on the long side, dashing across, using their cover really well. That was almost a perfectly executed fight. They got lucky that Rashao and Sadak, on SSG side, they got lucky that they managed to find that kill onto Erase. VP need to keep that magic going. They need to stay together, play tight. This scout actually doing a lot to force SSG back, so don't really have a leg to stand on quite yet. They're going to have to find something really big, whether it's a overpower or a dragon punch, and an overpower it will be. Don't throw it off the map, and he won't make it back.
Ooh, nice quick 180 as well. Commander's grab keeps Sadak safe for now. Salvo rips to Ruckus. So far, it's just that 1-for-0 trade off of the overpower. In Flame, gonna rekindle the flame. The aggression is starting here, but again, called off. Both these teams playing so careful. Nobody wants to be the one to make the mistake.
Very smart by Freeze, I think, to not go in there. You don't live in front of 4 Inflame players. It doesn't matter how fast you're moving. Assert Dominance, all it does is buy time. Ares does manage to get away. They are putting on a little bit more pressure, but Dome Shield makes it down to the point. Hexafire not looking at anybody. Through time and space, doesn't connect. FRZ gets the boost in the sky as Fishiko connects a couple good shots. But what an incredible shot by FRZ to take down Fishiko. It's traded for a Xiao, and no tanks really in position to touch the point. SSG, they're in dire straits right now.
Virtus.Pro, I think, are going to take this one. I mean, you can see Sadak just hobbling his way in. What a kind of anticlimactic fight there. I mean, nothing really happened. Everybody was just punching, counter-punching, blocking, parrying. And then it's just kind of a quiet little victory there. Nobody wanted to really take any risks. Fish, surprise, takes the riskiest kind of move there, flutters in a little bit, and gets punished for it. But again, it's like he's the only one that made a definitive like move in that team fight. Everything is, that's kind of the way the set has gone. There's a lot of like just a wash team fight. It's just 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. You know, people are dying on either side, and then nobody can do anything. It's been close, man. I have to say, a fun contest to watch here as SSG just going blow to blow, even back up here 2 apiece. We'll head to a quick break and be back. Respawn, the official gaming chair of the Paladins Premier League.
Welcome back after Game 4 comes to a close, and we're all tied up at 2. Down to a best of 3 now. Not what I was expecting coming into today. Were you expecting that, Gormizer? That's the ultimate question.
No. Honestly, coming into today, I thought this, was going to be a repeat of last week. I was like, all right, we got a 4-game set to close the day out, and that's probably going to be it. But SSG has shown that they can adapt and stay up there with the best of them.
That's right. Virtus.Pro, though, coming out on top of this one. Big 4-3 win for them on Jaguar Falls. Damage numbers in favor of Spacestation. You do have a Genos at your back, so that tilts things over just a little bit. 173k healing for Vex. And in another game where a couple times throughout, you saw Vex add his name to that kill column. There's something about him and Furia. I think he just feels so comfortable on that champion.
I think it's not. I don't want to say the phrase plug and play because it's not that. It's just he knows her. It's like home base for him.
Sure.
And they needed that considering Cruncy just did not have the game he wanted. 8 and 14 there. Definitely kind of got bullied out through a lot of this, but it was kind of a raise. Again, not exactly the best slash line, 9, 11, and 10, but he is the guy who is kind of driving everything forward with a lot of these shots, a lot of these kills. I mean, his damage numbers were really high up there, 100k. I think he was the only one with 100k on his team. So it just goes to show that, slash line isn't everything. The poke can find the control.
Yeah, he had a real bad start to this game, I think, around the midway point. Actually, right around this is when he started to turn things around. Just a couple shots over that 100k threshold. And the added kind of presence of Cassie for him, and you know, same vein as like Furia for Vex. I still do think that Cassie is going to be a big thing to look at in this set. Now we're down to a best of 3, so at least half of it is behind us. I believe she is 100% win rate throughout this set. I could be wrong, but I think the team that has had Cassie is yet to lose.
Yep.
Liana's frequently been that answer, but different dynamics starting to come out to play here as we're tied up at 2. Any shifting maybe needing to be done there? We see that the Inara gets banned out, and the way Virtus.Pro kind of adapt to that. They kind of feel okay doing the double off tank kind of hybrid on Jaguar Falls, and I think they'll feel okay with that.
I think, honestly, to shift away here, you either, depending on where you want to look at it, you maybe want to shift away as Virtus.Pro, because Ruckus right now, it's been maps that he's been okay with. Actually, this is another map that I'm not crazy against him on for Fish Market. Not often that we get to see him, though. But I'd say exactly what they did. Take them places that maybe SSG right now aren't used to. So far, most of these maps have either been one that SSG knows really well or one that's very common.
Right.
Go to your Fish Markets. Go to your Timber Mills. Go to places where it's like, this is really weird, but we'll win at the end of the day because maybe they just don't know it as well. They haven't been playing this split, and so those maps are still pretty outlandish for them.
Right. Well, Fish Market tends to either be very fast or not quite so fast. It's a hard map to push on if your team starts to get staggered out. So that's certainly one thing to look at. Strix being banned out here for SSG. He has absolutely come to play a couple times on Fish Market.
A notable IO map. I mean, this is one of the ones that we don't get to see her too often, but this is one that's perfect for her. Very good for Barrick in my eyes for the same reason, and that's that there's enough cover on the point to kind of cover something that's small, and that really encompasses Barrick and Luna perfectly.
Right.
You throw Luna on here I throw IO in here because you throw Luna onto the objective, and then the fight's going on the side. You're capturing while you still have the 5-man fight. Otherwise, that's part of the reason Fish Market takes so long, is you 5-man rotate around the side, and whenever you're sending all 5 people away, the point's just vacant. Both teams are doing that. That's why this point fight can last so long. It's just everyone ignores it.
Well, given the way the bans go, you have Strix on one side, Genos on the other, and then your typical off tanks. That opens up Makoa here. First pick for SSG. That leaves Virtus.Pro answering back with a Furia and a Khan on their side. It's a good start for SSG, getting the turtle on their side.
Definitely one of the strongest champions, period. I think on this map, we're going to maybe see some pressure applied to him, though, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not as, well, I'm going to use this phrase again, even though it's not quite exactly what I want it to mean, but not as plug-and-play as it could be on other maps, where some maps, Stonekeep, usually very easy to kind of make Makoa work in there. Fish Market has a little more, it's not even nuance, but just kind of shuffling of the players that makes it maybe more difficult to connect with hooks, more difficult to predict player movement, things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Presumably Sadak take that one and what exactly he's going to be able to do with it. As they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of it. I mean, someone for Rachao, maybe a support, maybe a DPS that comes through. I mean, you highlighted kind of where Cassie's been lately.
Right.
That's not too surprising to maybe see someone take note of that on SSG and go, gimme.
I mean, that is the epitome of kind of those two-prong picks that I like to talk. You're getting her for yourself because she's certainly a good champion, but taking it away from Erase on the opposite side, you're getting added benefit in both cases here. Strix is banned out. Kanessa is not banned out. In fact, she is picked for Virtus.Pro here as Eevee looking to get locked in as well. I remember seeing Kanessa earlier this week. There was double damage amp on her side. She was hitting the one-shots. She work here as well as a Strix would?
I think she can. There's some things Strix, in my mind, almost immediately does better than her. That work, I think, is stronger for Fish Market.
Yeah.
Primarily, it's just his combat long range and close range is much better than hers. Hers is kind of all in on the long range. That carbine, even though you can fire it close up, is not doing too much unless you have Headhunter and you kind of pop that for the carbine. But maneuvering the map, she's going to be very, very solid at. she has no one to really contest her. So I anticipate her finding some really good snipes, some really good long-range battles that heavily favor her. A lot of it's going to come down to SSG maybe kind of playing spoiler to her. Maeve has a lot on her plate.
She has to be careful. Every once in a while, you'll see, Makoa fighting around the point, big hook up to the high ground, pulls down the Kinessa, and suddenly that long-range sniper doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
So I look for that as we go down to Fish Market. Game 5. Let's do it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and selecting a relatively early Fish Market. Some people avoid this map entirely. But it has been one, I will say, I feel, Envy are starting to really lock down a strategy to be able to almost get this map for free if it comes to that. Virtus.Pro have had some theatrics on this map as well, with the IO getting her first win in the PPL. A lot of fun to watch that one happen. You've been behind the curtain with Spacestation Gaming before. What do they see in this map?
I'm trying to think of how they approach this map. And I'm actually surprised they would go Makoa, because I feel like this is definitely one of the worst maps for him in some situations. If they can play far enough away, this map is just so big that sometimes he just can't close that distance. So to me, that says that they might wait for VP to come to them, but that's going to be tough with a Kinessa on VP's side.
They're going to be able to fight from long range and probably, frankly, prefer it. I mean, you see... I have a very recent memory of Rubu having a phenomenal Makoa game on this map, but he had to tailor his loadout to it. I mean, you got to get the Surf 5. You got to really have ways to close that gap. You got to get in the enemy back line and sit there. Fishy gets scooped out of the air by none other than the Dredge Anchor. And how thematically appropriate on Fish Market for the Fishy to get hooked by Sadak. Walled off now, in some trouble. He is going to go down for it, as Virtus.Pro off to a healthy 48 and climbing to 12% lead.
On the back of a raise, too. He's doing so much damage, applying a lot of pressure to Rochelle. I can't believe Rochelle lived as long as he did, but he managed to catch Sadak. Doe did backing off, so they can just forward zone now. The sightlines to the spawn are massive on this map. Any hit scan can dismount all the way in spawn.
It's
There's
a tragedy.
Rochelle. No way. Sadak's close-ish, but Makoa can't buy that much time on the point.
And the sad air horn starts playing as Barrick starts to waddle his way. But it is all futile here. The first payload already grabbed by Virtus.Pro. The front line's a little slow going, a little bit hard to cover that type of distance. A little bit of Maldamba here as well. Let's talk about that. It's just been a significant lack of the character when he was still getting picked. I mean, we talked about people pivoted to Ying if they didn't want to, overcommit to crowd control. But I don't know. I mean, there's been a distinct lack of Maldamba for what I would say is the first time ever in the history of competitive Paladins.
Yeah, since the release of Maldamba. I mean, before that, there really wasn't even a great healer. Honestly, there wasn't even like a character who did that healing. It was Grover, Pip, and Grok. And since Damba came out, it's kind of been a staple.
Is there... Because nothing's happened to Damba. I mean, is there power creep in the support category? Is it just the meta is requiring other things that Damba doesn't bring?
I think the CC in the meta on characters is just too big. Maeve is in all these games, and Resilience makes her ult a lot worse, and her ult is already so impactful. So by getting a support that brings something other than raw CC on top of good healing, you can just make it better. You can just get more out of your support. I think they chose Damba here because even though they have the Maeve, they want a support that's a little bit better at getting dove.
That's it, though. I mean, we would have that because that's really the core of the conversation around when you didn't pick Meldon. Because like we said, he has been meta forever since he existed.
Years.
That was when you're getting on Seismic Crash, maybe you have assert dominance, and when you're getting 3, 4 CC ultimates, that's maybe when people started to not look at Damba. But I mean, this SSG lineup, it's midnight. It's midnight and Dresser. That's it. That's why. And it's tough for me personally to buy Resilience for one ultimate, because then I'm like conceding that player's getting to me. They're bothering me. I need to handle that. But I don't see a problem with having 2 hard CC ultimates.
Midnight is just so good. That even when it's just Maeve getting CC, you'll get Resilience, because at this level, that's an execute. That's a win if you make it happen. So it's important enough. I think they weren't thinking about the CC with Damba. They only went him because I think they expect Fish to really be getting aggressive. And if you went Ying instead, you'd be suffering. The Damba would definitely be kind of folding under the pressure the Ying would be folding under the pressure from the Eevee, I think, a little bit more than a Damba would. Damba can kind of fight back as opposed to a Ying. And during that, there were some trades back and forth. I think Headhunter spent a little late, so that won't be on the table. But if Raze keeps hitting the shots at the speed he was, he'll have it back very quickly.
There's an awkward, and this happens on a lot of sniper maps, and I think it just happened there somewhat in the first round. You know, you get to your spot as a sniper to fight for mid, and you have a lot of good angles, you got your line of sights, it's all honky-dory. And then in between mid and like coming down the home stretch, there's a lot of awkward moments where you don't really have a lot of safe places to stand that put you at a good distance. Like, you kind of got to get shoulder to shoulder with some of your other teammates. And as a sniper, you want to be kind of sitting pretty on your ivory tower. You don't really want to be in the mud grinding it out with the peasants. So I think that's really on the rest of Virtus.Pro. There's 2 moments where a Raze is going to be super effective, and it's the rest of VP's job to get him there.
Ooh, actually, great dodge there by Pacheco. They scouted to try to find an opening, but I don't know if they were able to get it. Midnight came in too, but Vex wasn't blind. He used Inflame. The CC immunity cleansed it from him, so Freeze thought he was safe, but wasn't safe enough. Blocked by the corner, but Sadak is going to force a Raze out, getting peeled for. VP holding control strongly of the objective.
A lot of great shots connecting for a Raze, not resulting in kills yet, but everyone is forced out. Look at that, the healer out of line of sight, out of mind, as well as Barrick. Raze doesn't get those kills, but those were 2 very impactful shots from his Headhunter. Here comes the fear. It's blocked away by Pacheco. He won't get hit by the CC as Virtus.Pro firmly in the lead. Last couple of ticks here on the objective, and the CC from the seismic crash is too much. An overtime meter is here just as a formality. This one burns true yet again for Virtus.Pro.
I could expect this to go to a 3-3, but I would still give it to VP at that point. I think their comp is just stone cold better on these mid fights. If they keep playing the way they are, if a Raze keeps confirming these shots, I could see SSG having a chance if FRZ manages to find his way onto a Raze, but right now VP are just looking like the VP we're used to, I think. That defense was on the back of this map just being insanely hard to push. That's what FRZ needs to do. Okay, yeah.
All 4 cooldowns, yeah. It spends a lot of resources to get back here. It's paying off, though. He's really got a lot of good angles to this back line. This is the corner VP are trying to break. And FreezeGod not only got past the line of scrimmage, he killed one of the safeties, too. So now he's just kind of free-firing.
I think he's suspended from the league if he
does.
Yeah,
we'll have to get Coop in here and get that official ruling out. But FreezeGod is bending the rules here. Playing a little bit of the Mave. Mave's such a good pick for SSG, though. I mean, so flexible. Ares can play it. Freeze can play it. Hell, even if Sadak had to in a 3 DPS, I'm sure he probably could at this point. It's a part of the culture for SSG. Used to the mobility, the double jump, floating up and over the docks. And Fish is going to chase him down to the ends of the earth. Mitao answers back, though, onto Vex, no less. Healer on healer crime. Nowhere to go. Raze makes a funky rotation, and it pays off as everyone from SSG essentially just retreats into the arms of Raze, or the sights, I guess we should say. Looking for more. So far, no good. And everyone's, I guess, still respawning from the last fight.
That's kind of why snipers are so strong on this map.
And now he's got it.
Long sight line.
This is the spot, Bobby.
Yeah, this is the best defensive part. That's why this map is so, it's either 100% for the defense or all for the offense. Because once you get over this hill, it gets really easy. But I guess
Freeze.
That doesn't matter to FRZ. He just gets through the entire team and catches a Raze. It's a 2-for-2, but SSG have the spawn advantage.
But Vex, you know, he brings this one back. Huge stun from Mitao. It's not a time and space. It's a little bit quieter, but it's just as deadly from Maldamba. We haven't gotten to see a lot of these noodle tosses in a while. Another nice one cleans up K Crunchy. And Mitao showing us that he is still one of the best on Wakono's chosen. Few and far between as we see him nowadays. He still plays a big part. Lots of control in this kit, but it's all skill shot and timing based. As SSG, frankly, I'm a little surprised they hold that one. It starts with FreezeGod, again, burning his cooldowns, but having it pay off to get to the back line, and it ends with Midtown making some nice lockdown plays on Maldamba.
That's just Mave on this map, right? If you want to get there, it's so wide. You have to spend all those resources. Thankfully, Maeve has that, that reset to even get there.
And now imagine being Barrack or Makoa here.
Yeah, exactly. Even with Serve 5, you're only going like slightly less than half of the way. You really need an opening mate for you, and that's kind of why I was surprised SSG fell back on that Makoa that early. Of course, Makoa is good, but I mean, look at the damage charge. Inar is out damaging him.
He sure is. He's got a great weapon, but you got to get in position to be involved. You don't have the damage reduction just to be as exposed as Dosubs has been. Big Game is going to try and work its way through Inar, but you can see target swap. I mean, nobody's really concerned with Inar immediately. No, you didn't just get the double flip off the map. K. Crunchy gets one with the overpower, almost claims both front lines from SSG. Bobby, that's a good way to start this one off.
For sure. They have Raze in a great position. Crunchy completely locking the side of the map down. So it's going to be a while for Sadak to come back, but if they're just staggering tanks, never having both in the right place at the right time, SSG getting zoned totally out to this market side. Fish runs away, but it's only a moment's respite as the Ancient Rage gets forced out just to touch the point. Swinging at nothing, the blindfolded kid trying to hit the pinata, but he just cannot get the candy.
Oh, and it is Fish this time that gives FRZ the slip. Raze cleans up the kill. Giving me a little vibe of Split Stone. Ooh, he's going to spray him. Again, payload's gone the way of Virtus.Pro. Midtown still letting Fish know who's boss with that stun cleanup.
Just got to assert your dominance without an Ashe in the game. That's the only way you have left to do it. Now they have a decent position now that they managed to cross before Arrays got in a position to stop them. Hook comes in, but Sadak actually got left alone by FRZ. Sadak's like, please come back, please. Please, I need help. Comes back, they do get the kill. Midnight to kind of equalize it a little bit more, and SSG want to take a lot of ground here.
Plenty of time on the clock. This is going to burn a hefty amount of it, though, as SSG... Remember the dog in the street metaphor here. More and more cleanup happening. SSG staggering, slowly bleeding out and milking this victory for all it's worth. The payload starts with 2:30 on the clock, and we are already at 1:30. So yes, a lot of time, but SSG are taking every opportunity to whittle that down.
It's just a mindset for the game that I think does so much. The aggressive zone, at this point, it's all about time. You're just burning that bank of time away and trying to force them to use resources to get out. They have to use Inflame. They have time to charge it up, but they had to spend it to get there in the first place. Now they don't have it if it were to be used in like a conversion scenario.
Yeah.
They still have to use that to get there. Everything else online for VP, they could choose to snowball with an overpower, maybe a seismic crash, but options limited because of that aggressive zone from them.
They got to get this one moving and get past this corner, because this is where Arrays really starts to come online. Not to say he's completely useless until then, but a great seismic crash is going to put him in the position to succeed. This would end the game for VP. Quick flip. Can't get the dome shield off. Second try is good, but will he survive it? Dosubs is chasing him under the dome shield. Barrack dancing back and forth. The dance no longer viable. He will still fall. 30 seconds on the clock just to get this one down the hill. And despite all that feeling like it went so well for Virtus.Pro, SSG are still able to dig in their heels.
And they have to hide right now. Headhunter coming in. Everyone has to kite away. First pick goes to VP. Catching out to Doc. A tank being out there is awful. Now Erase is in the best possible position. Rashao used his dome shield before too, so he's inevitable. Ice Storm removes the bowling ball, so VP win on SSG's map pick and go up 3-2.
Once he's crested the hill, Kinessa becomes such a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she has just got her pick of the litter of lines of sights. There's not a lot of places to hide, and the more you think about it, that conversion is a bowl. Almost even more.
Would you call it a fishbowl?
I might just call it a fishbowl. And it's like you look at the point, and it's so much that way. It's almost crazy to think that there is an even more amplified situation of what is so tough about dealing with the mid-fight on Fish Market. Once it starts to roll down that hill, I mean, physics kind of does the rest, I feel like.
There's like no cover. There's no cover that contests.
No, it's like a little tree.
Yeah. I mean, there's some maps like Warder's Gate that are kind of set up the same way, but there's so much you can play around the boxes up front. You can play around the column behind the point. Fish Market, you're just there. You're in the fishbowl. They're tapping the glass, and they just want to scare you.
Little Finding Nemo action here on Fish Market, but it's going to go the way of VP. Chance to close it out when we come back from this break.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Disbelief and make me forget my memories. Rent a car you can't afford. Put on a song that we both know. Let your hair out in the wind. Put the pedal to the floor. Flame your light and take a smoke. Put your broken rip off. Wafers on. Doesn't matter if the sun goes down. We'll still be up, still be up. Don't care about the place we found. We'll still be up, still be up. We're in this together. We both fall down. Doesn't matter if the sun goes up. Cause we will still be high when the lights out.
If you hate 4 zeros and you hate 4 threes, you're happy for the first time in this set. We get a 4-2, and it is Virtus.Pro on Fish Market pushing it in 4-2 for them in that one. And we expected maybe a little bit of wonkiness on Fish Market. Gord got a little bit of wonkiness. The Knessa, though, wins the day.
Yeah.
Do you think deservedly so?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's just you have that long range. You don't have as much to maybe contest you. It kind of gets to free fire away. But a lot of back and forth between these two teams, which is interesting to see. I mean, SSG, whatever they did from last week to this week, if they do it again from this week to next week, that's over for everybody else in the league. Like it's almost exponential growth from last week to this week. And yeah, like you said, a raise down there, 73,000 damage. Out damaged by Ares there. But honestly, it does come down to, I think, maybe more of the kills, where they're coming up more than how much damage you see. I mean, a 14 streak for Cruncy is definitely a swift improvement over some of the Ruckus games we saw earlier.
And honestly, Sadak, I think, having a very tough game on the Makoa. I mean, normally it's kind of a plug-and-play. Not at all this time around. 11-5 for Dosups. Talk about that frontline matchup. Yeah. I mean, between him, Rashao, Sadak, Cruncy, 11-3, 11-5 for Virtus.Pro. Compare that to 4-12 and negative on the opposite side. Dosups, big game here on Fish Market.
And that's, I think, the biggest thing. One of the things that determines sets outside, like you could have one player come through and, you know, a raise if he just has some insane game, much like we saw out of Ricotta earlier. It just wins you the game when they have that kind of performance. But sometimes it can be found elsewhere. It doesn't just have to be one guy or your DPS.
Right.
The tanks have had some monumental impact to this set.
Agreed.
And I think Dosups, as well as Cruncy, that game kind of showcased what you can do there that is going to make that big difference. And, I mean, conversely, or inversely, I guess, to a lot of what we've seen so far, we've had a ton of Sadak and Rachel having good moments and then not having good moments. So kind of bouncing back and forth between a lot of these performances between the two tanks. I guess 4 tanks, the 2 sets of tanks, will probably continue into this map.
Well, Virtus.Pro grabbed the first back-to-back win for anyone in this set. Looking to make it 3 straight and seal it out on Ascension Peak 4-2 over SSG. Now we've had kind of a wide variety of bans in the sense that Torvald and Atlas essentially have been banned out the entire time. But teams have, or SSG and Virtus.Pro have said, okay, maybe we let the Willow through. That was not something my mind was thinking of, but they're going to take Furia away from Vex. Depending on how Virtus.Pro ban here, you know, they have 2 back-to-back picks, so you can leave 2 somethings open for yourself if you want to leave the Khan and Makoa. You take the leftover of the 2 and then maybe a Willow for your side. There's a lot that Virtus.Pro can play with here.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest shakeup of bans like this. When you can kind of control who gets what, how much is left open for you. SSG have been favoring Khan a lot today, and I'm kind of anticipating potentially if he's still available, maybe they try to scoop him up first. Unless Makoa was there, but with Makoa gone, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them go for Khan, just because of how important he's been for Virtus.Pro and for them.
Yeah, it's true. And instead, they're going to opt for the Willow for FRZ God in this one. I think it's a fine pick. Not only get something powerful on your side, take something very powerful away from Fisheko. Of course, that means Virtus.Pro are going to continue the trend. You take Willow, we're going to take Barrett Khan, whether it's SSG or Virtus.Pro first. That's been the series of picks we've seen numerous times throughout this set. Story continues. Ash to follow up here for SSG. Get themselves some off-tank pressure.
You know, on a map like Bright Marsh or a map like Stone Keep, I think Willow has kind of free reign over even, say, like Drogoz, right? Like there's just a lot that she gets away with, and it's very hard to track her down and have some individual that targets her. I think on Ascension Peak, Fisheko could still go Drogoz and absolutely smack that Willow out of the sky. I think this is a map that both of them are going to be very potent on. I wouldn't be surprised to see Virtus.Pro potentially go for that kind of pick because of what it can bring. And it's kind of surprisingly early Ying. I think actually maybe stripping that away from Virtus.Pro more than anything, because Vex, I don't want to say he has kind of like a tier list in his mind, but he has a tier list in his mind where it's just like, you know, Furia is where he wants to go. Following that, Ying is very, very solid there. We haven't seen him go much for Maldamba lately, so Genos is also high on that list, but those have kind of been the three for them lately. And it kind of forces them into that Genos pick.
Oh, that's looking like the direction he's going to go. Cassie for Erase awaits on the horizon. If they lock her in right here, I think it's a very solid pick. That falls a lot on Erase's shoulders now, though, for kind of dealing with the Willow, specifically in Faithlight. That's a tall task, but certainly something I think he's open to. Yeah,
and honestly, being able to come through Barrick, hit scan, being able to find those shots should be easy. Khan, same thing. Genos, same thing.
True.
All of them should be able to cause some trouble overall for Willow. Granted, that's going to depend, I think, more than anything on Freeze God. There's a lot of everyone that was listed there deals a lot of damage, not usually enough to 100 to 0. It's going to require a lot of teamwork and execution. But if this is Drogoz, which could be, couldn't be, honestly, Virtus.Pro have a lot of flexibility down here, but I think he could do really well here. And we've seen Fish pull that out on this map and absolutely obliterate people with it. To be fair, we've seen Fisheko obliterate people on any map. On any insert map. Blaster name, insert map name. I don't know if there's a horrible matchup for him here. Eevee, no exception to that rule. One of his best, if not his best champion. Looking to seal it out here on Ascension Peak. Pretty standard composition, honestly, for both sides. I mean, I guess double flank, double mobility for SSG, but Virtus.Pro, very clean cut, double tank, healer, Cassie, Eevee. Does what they have work for you here? Do you think that they have a good shot at maybe win number 4? I think they do for Virtus.Pro. I just everyone feels comfortable from the top down. I mean, Erase gets Cassie, Fisheko gets Eevee, you get Vex. Maybe a little uncomfortable because he's not on Furia, but he's Genos. He's going to play Genos just as well, if not maybe better. Khan, Barrick, solid, wrap it up, nice pretty bow on top. It's almost everything you would want. SSG is a little more dependent. Ares is a really good Mave, but it depends on how does Freeze pick up this Willow, how does this Ying perform. There's a lot of more question marks. Lots of question marks for Gormizer, so for maybe the last time today, let's send it down to your casters for Game 6.
See if they can close it out, boys. So far, so good for Virtus.Pro, but Spacestation have just far surpassed, I think, my and everyone's expectations on how much they can improve against the current best team in the league. Virtus.Pro have been taking down, you know, Na'Vi, NIP, Envy, doesn't matter. Nobody's been able to stand against them. And then all of a sudden, here comes little old SSG after 1 week of play. They kind of did this in the first phase. I mean, both times coming in late to the phase, you have to ask the question, does this hurt them? Does this help them being able to kind of see what's going on? But you know, they set the expectation of, you know, we are very out of practice. But remember, this is an incredible team with a lot of world-class talent. They just need to show it. Erase rolls through the first 2 in this game. Fishy finds yet another. My goodness, dismantled at breakneck speeds here in this first mid.
That was one of the fastest team wipes I've ever seen. I mean, that was just clinical aggression from VP. I was actually going to say going in, doesn't this just look like they've traded drafts from the entire set?
It does, yeah.
VP have the SSG we've been seeing basically all day, and SSG little bit slower, I feel like, from their standard draft style. And Nara Ying, not what they've been playing all day, but they have to find a way to make it work. That first pick might do something, but Ares goes down trying to get the touch. They wouldn't have had the pressure in time. Good tank pressure now, but Rashao just getting spammed at by Erase here. Sadoc's going to be the next victim, too. Big Game Mark will not go away, and he should be next to go down with Cruncy's pressure.
Couple little dinks from the heavy repeaters. Cruncy campaigning his way through SSG. He just hasn't been the focal point. I mean, Freeze God does get an early Fae flight out, but you can't get inside of Ascension Peak. It's almost like a Bright Marsh type of mid-fight where it's inside of a building, frozen guard. Something you don't like.
Cruncy's getting shot at by a Willow, and he's jumping. He's only getting hit because he's jumping. He gets hit 3 times in a row because he's like, oh, you would like to shoot my feet? Excuse me, let me just hop here. Sorry. I just saw Cruncy eat like 2,400 damage he didn't need to take.
You're saying it would have went up over his head had he not jumped?
It would have just hit his shield.
Oh.
He was letting it hit his feet.
Goofball. Sometimes, man, I don't know. Questionable plays, but I mean, it doesn't feel like Virtus.Pro can make a mistake big enough right now to be slowed down. Finally some kills on the board for SSG, and a shoulder bash out of nowhere. One more shot turns that into a kill for Sadoc. Tosup's trying to disengage, and he's not feeling the heat, so he's going to go back in. Doesn't have all of his cooldowns up, but has enough to feel confident. Ripping up over the top with an Ice Storm. Keeps these tanks locked down. Nice shield from Doe just to make sure they bail out Fish safely.
And that's smart because Fish has kind of had high death games, I think, throughout the night, throughout the day. So being able to keep him defended in that situation might kind of flip the expectation for SSG. They're always expecting to catch Fish out, but teamwork can keep him alive. Sadoc now facing the right side against this, and actually booped in. He can't play his shield now, trying his best, but surrounded by 2. I don't know if they'll be able to peel for him time, and they can't. Freeze God uses the Fae Flight to do it, but that's an ult for a kill. That's not the best trade. Use your ult and a kill, and VP give nothing.
And here comes the Dome Shield, I think just to make damn sure that this one finds a home. Respawned, dashing in, but ultimately not a lot grabbed there by Sadoc. Virtus.Pro, insanely fast first team wipe, insanely fast push, and up 2-0. I would guess somewhere around 4 minutes on the clock, man. This has been a very quick first round. I mean, that's pretty much, that's the size of it. It was close margin, frankly. I mean, Cruncy almost died there. But it's that confidence, it's that type of aggression that I think more than anything has defined the meta here in this entire season. I mean, when you get in the face of people like that, they have their plans, but the famous words of Mike Tyson, everyone's got that plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Like, it's crazy how just forcing that type of fight can really do a lot of damage to people's, mentality in these fights and their confidence.
I think that's why VP have been doing so well with the addition of, Cruncy and Arrays. These are players on a team that was playing very aggressive, and now
that's all they did.
Yeah, exactly. That's all they did. And that's perfect for how the game is kind of meant to be played right now. If all these characters are shifting to just, I do more damage, because the fight has to end faster, and it's been just so good for VP. And even in the face of 2 picks to start, they might be able to flip this around with that overpower. 3 versus 3 it goes back to after a good overpower from Cruncy. Ray's moving in to help Doe very low, and now neither team gets to cap. They're both going to kind of bide their time and wait for this for the spawns to come back in.
Yeah, nobody blowing this one too wide open just yet. Virtus.Pro starting to rip that margin open, though, as they move to north of 70% to 7. Back-rooted on the objective, comeback mechanic enabled, long distance picks. Speak of the devil, Vex finds 2. He cannot be outdone by MidTow. What a great angle as Virtus.Pro go up 3-0 with the chance to claim the set.
That timing was so good, too, because now the team can get very forward. They're already in this choke, and they catch MidTow coming out of spawn.
No.
Again, nothing he could have done. So much burst damage. Fish finds another, so the stagger will continue. Rashao moving as forward as he can to try to touch it. Does manage to catch Fish. Great wall, too, actually.
Nice play.
Great by him. Drops it for Sadoc, too, but again, the cart's moving this whole time. They never contested, and they're going to get spawns back by the time they hit this choke point.
A very deadly do-si-do being done at the moment, and with only 1 point left, despair. And no room really to spare when you reslice it. There's so many ultimates here that I think when they coordinate, once they fully charge, Virtus.Pro bide their time for a nice little 45 seconds to a minute, get all these resources topped off. Sure, you can pop this Fae fight, you can win this team fight, but there is a storm brewing, and Virtus.Pro are a team that is very good at committing all of their ultimates and getting that conversion whenever they feel like it.
All right, everyone press E now. All right, we won, guys. Great job. I'll go to the interview. No, but that was good by them. I think that Fae Flight being used as early as it was exactly what SSG needed, because they just needed time to build their ultimates. They were at like 60 on 3 of them. So being able to have Assert Dominance, Midnight Seismic Crash will get them that cushion they need, I think, to hold this. Look at this aggression from Sadak and FRZ. People, you can use Willow to dive, and they're showing it right now, but it might be a 1 for 2 if Fish finds this, and he does!
No, he's going to punish it real hard. Fish finds the opening, not 1, but 2, and now he's looking for his 3rd. If he connected that mid-range on the Ares, it might have just done it. This is the Storm.
No.
It has been brewing. Overpower's ready. Ice Storm's ready. Dome Shield, they're all hitting the floor. Press E, boys. Let's put this one away. Can SSG dig in? They're going to try, but I see the headsets coming off. Virtus.Pro, it's a lot of weight to throw around, and they throw it with gusto, grab this final conversion, claim the win in Game 6. But I think the story for me today has been what an improvement for SSG.
Oh, sure.
Man, against the best team in the league. How the hell can you be anything but impressed with what these guys have managed to put together in a week?
Makes me even more excited for the game that we're going to see tomorrow. We're going to see SSG versus NIP, so that one should be crazy with how they've improved.
And after what we saw today with NIP, I mean, sheesh, the league it just never settles. It never settles. Right when we start to settle, inject a new team and a new patch, and everything's, it's a lot. It's been a lot of fun to watch this year. I mean, it's been a blessing for real. A lot of cool stuff to kind of break down. So we'll get it back up to the desk and get ready for our interview.
Oh, another 4-2 on the back end of the 4-2 to start off the day. The favorite going into this matchup, Virtus.Pro. A little bit of bounce back from SSG. But at the end of the day, 4-2 for VP. All is right in the world. They continue their rise, but a big, big improvement for Spacestation Gaming. And I think we need to talk about that.
And I think that's the biggest thing. They were here 2 months of not playing. Like, they maybe had a little bit of scrim time coming into last week. 3 sets last week, plus all of the time in between, now that they've got their home and that they're kind of settling down and they're able to pick up a lot. They have done so much work, I think, to be able to hit to this point, get a couple maps under their belts in the future, and maybe the next time these two meet up, it's a different story.
Yep. Big performance out of Erase to seal this one up 10-3-9 for him. I could run down everyone if I wanted to. 7-6-8, the ugliest with an asterisk on it for Fisheko. But everyone really doing their job towards the end. We brought up maybe Vex will feel a little uncomfortable. He ban out the Furia. You
Quote,
give him the
unquote,
Genos.
uncomfortable.
Right. But he was not. 5-2-19. Hit a couple 3 times in spaces that were so important.
And, I mean, he was kind of a big difference maker. I mean, we had mentioned this earlier with Mitau. I think we've highlighted it with Vex today as well. And it deserves being said one more time. But kills from the support and a positive slash line for them is always good. That is 1 less target, or, well, in some cases, 2 less targets that your team has to worry about. And it enables so much out there for you. And I think that's kind of the big thing. I mean, all of a sudden, Fisheko can get aggressive, Arrays can get aggressive, Cruncy can get aggressive. Like, everyone can move forward when Vex is getting kills like that.
And he transports the payload, What else?
He does it all. This man's got it.
What else could you want out of him? I think he's sort of starting to cement himself as one of the more... I mean, it's a weird kind of bounce back and forth where I think that he's probably one of the most capable supports in the league, but he'll happily just play Furia if you give it to him every time because he's so good. But now we see... If he's on a Damba, there's not much fall off. If he's on a Genos, there's not any fall off. I mean, I think that he's really starting to establish himself as one of the better supports in this league. Of course, that means he was able to help Virtus.Pro win this set, and that means got a couple of them standing by for a post-game interview. Take a listen.
Thanks so much, guys.
Big story today, I think, was just the improvement from SSG, but you guys still able to come out with the win. What were some of the biggest things that you guys noticed? Obviously, you just played them, so what were they able to kind of build on from last week to this week?
Drafting. They just like really changed up their draft, and they start countering our draft. They did pretty good.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about your priority throughout the game. I mean, this I guess could be more a Vex question, but it's a team style thing. You guys had Furia every single game basically until they finally banned it once they realized how much it was doing. How do you guys feel about her right now? I know she kind of has that go button, but do you think she might shift into a different position next patch with the different damage boosts kind of getting nerfed and taken away?
Not sure. I think Fury is just gonna stay the same because no one's touching her. So it's up to the other supports. If people like SSG find a way to utilize the Genos like they're doing and just trying to counter the Furia, then yeah, then maybe Fury will change. But
we were talking a little bit about how you guys had to play Genos and felt like a ton of sets. What was that like for you to kind of have Luminary again and have that healing support even from really far distances, Fish? Because I know playing a lot of flankers, that certainly helps.
I mean, for me, obviously, it's the best. Like, I would always play with Genos, but the supports are like more for the team, not just for the flankers, obviously. But it always feels nice to have a Genos because you win every duel. It's kind of unfair.
Yeah, Barrack too, because he starts hitting hard.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. I want to talk a little bit about Barrack and Inara. I mean, Inara, it seems like she only gets banned in this matchup between you guys and SSG. Doe, how do you guys kind of tiptoe around this? And I'm sure you don't ever really feel a lot of draft pressure as the point frontline, but
yeah,
people trying to take stuff away from you now. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, there was more pressure this game, but it's pretty map dependent on which one you're banning, Barrack or Inara. And like I'm pretty sure they love Barrack. Like Rachel and Barrack is another animal, I think. So, they want to get that Barrack to ban the Inara. See where it goes.
They need to improve on that.
Speaking of the point tank thing, the one thing you guys had some creative drafts I think in the previous weeks, but the only thing today that really caught us off guard was the super early Nando on Brightmarsh. That was for you. Was that just because having a point tank is that important on that map, or did you guys have anything specifically in mind for it?
We thought it was a good pick. Nando is pretty good on point for the first few points, and he starts to fall off late game. But we were hoping to win that game earlier than a 3-3 match or I don't even know if it was 3-3 at this point.
Yeah, that was one of the more fun matches, I think, of 2019. That one's going to definitely go down in the books. A lot of fun for you guys. Congratulations again on the win. Back-to-back dubs against SSG. We'll get it back up to the desk and close out our day.
Appreciate it, fellas. Certainly feeling good after a big win and over a much improved SSG, who tomorrow are going to have a big game against NIP. I mean, we kind of have to shift around our focus now, moving from day 1 to day 2, and how these teams kind of bounce back. One of the two teams tomorrow, whether it's SSG or NIP, are going to be winless this week, and that's weird because I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, NIP was winless in another week as well, where they lost to Virtus.Pro, played, I think it was Kanga the next day, lost to Kanga on the back end of it.
Yeah.
A tough few weeks here for NIP. Of course, Knights and Virtus.Pro pulling out the 4-2 wins today. We're going to swap opponents, Knights, Virtus.Pro, NIP, SSG, in the opposite order, though. Some shifting probably happened standings-wise on the back end of some great wins here today. Not so much up and down, but numbers certainly now tied for third is technically Envy and Virtus.Pro. Got to keep your eyes on these matchups, though. Virtus.Pro win another one. They leap over Envy into that third place spot, and they're tied with NIP if NIP lose tomorrow. So these are some important games.
And honestly, looking at it, SSG NIP is probably the one that's going to shake up the most, just because that 14-7 becoming a 14-8 might change things a lot more, and it has implications for the next few weeks as well. Knights are still trying to kind of claw their way up. They're still sitting at 7th, but that is not really indicative of their skill right now, and I think that's the biggest thing. Them versus VP tomorrow is going to be absolutely insane.
And we're so hyper-focused on that top 4 because that's, of course, the auto-qualify into Worlds. For the Knights, they just wanted to see some improvement, some standings improvement. If they win tomorrow, they now jump over Kanga. Kanga goes down to 7th. Knights then up to 6th. So, I mean, there's potential standing swaps kind of across the board. Of the two matchups, can you choose one tomorrow you're most excited for? Ignore the standings, just pure good Paladins-wise. What are you excited for?
I think VP and Knights is going to just pure good Paladins-wise. It's going to have a little bit more strength coming out of it. I just think both of these teams are kind of on the upswing. VP feels a little bit more kind of on the upward trend than the Knights, but with both of them making some really stellar improvements this split, I think this is going to be one of the best matches that we have this week.
Well, Gormizer's excited. Lots to look forward to tomorrow. It's been a fun day today. 2 4-2 wins for some of the up-and-coming programs here in this league, if you can even call them that anymore at this point. But for all of us here at Skillshot, I've been Dolson. That's been Gormizer. We'll see you tomorrow.
INAP, powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
There we go. Why, hello! Ah! I am centered. Yeah, he's in here. He's doing that one over there right now. And he's going to do that one over there. Oh, boy. Wow, look at these. Wow. It's that kind of day, I guess. I have no idea. I also have no idea. Those are two questions I can't answer. I am the worst, and that set was long, and both of those are just happening today. Why? Jared, did you stop the recording for him? He said not yet. Yeah, boy.